It's an awesome race. Yeah, I think there's a good variety of courses. Like the uphill TT is pretty unique, and then the two long road races are awesome.
I know that it's sanctioned now, so we see a lot of pro racers coming in. It's one of the places to race in the U.S. now.
It's a great race. Last year was very well put together. All the courses were a lot of fun. We really enjoyed being here, so looking forward to coming back again, hopefully next year.
It's one of the best races, stage races in the country.
Terrain here is really tough. A rider here who does well has the prestige of winning at a tough race course. So it just proves their ability, and it's a real resume boost for those guys wanting to go, say, to a Tour de France team. They've won here. Well, they're showing their capability to be the best in the world. And this is a UCI race, part of the international race calendar. So some of the riders who aren't from the U.S. are still trying to make their Olympic team. So there's special points for qualifying for the Olympics through cycling that they can get here. This is a rolling circus. It's like an amoeba, you know. It swarms and moves and very organic.
You know, hard course, big fields, great city, good atmosphere, kind of all comes together.
Criterium Day at the virtual Joe Martin stage race as the Echelon Racing League rolls on, heading to the Experience Fayetteville Virtual Criterium for the third day of racing this weekend at the virtual Joe Martin stage race. Brad Soner here once again, joined by Frankie Andreu and Phil Stevens as, guys, we get ready for our third day of racing. Frankie, I want to start with you. Criterium Day, my favorite day in real life. It's a little bit different on the virtual platform, but this is always an interesting one. Certainly one for the sprinters today. We might see a new winner out there for our pro men.
Yeah, it's Criterium Nation. I like having the crits. One of the more exciting days in the, in stage races, or, when you're combining a bunch of different kind of categories together. But it's a tough crit. The hill is definitely going to take its toll on a lot of the riders. It's got a fast downhill. It's extremely quick, but it's great for the spectators. And actually the riders get really motivated for it. But we could see a shakeup on the GC because it is a technical course. It's a hard course. And so, the Criterium always has an element of surprise to it.
Yeah, it has been an interesting season and an interesting week. Let's start with the overall series standings headed into this weekend of racing. A change at the top of this one as Matt Usborne moves into the overall lead headed into the Joe Martin stage race, but Usborne out this weekend with injury, so Ben Thomas looking to regain his throne at the top of the series leaderboard. Now, this is based on points. It's an omnium competition for the overall, but the race weekend, the GC, is based on time. So you see 157 points for Matt Usborne, 146 points for Ben Thomas, and 119 points for Charlie Revel. That is based on their GC placings at other races in the Echelon Racing League. In short, presented by Pedal Power, leading in the team competition with 379, Team Tour 2000 with 324, and then a good battle back here in third and fourth between Restart Racing and Above and Beyond Cancer, both powerhouse teams racing here in the Echelon Racing League. Canyon in fifth, Draft Racing in sixth. We saw Bruce Bird get a great win for them yesterday, and then Project Echelon Racing sitting in seventh place in the team competition. Now let's talk about the GC for this weekend, where things stand after a time trial, the road race yesterday, and then looking at the Criterium today. Frankie, just 5 seconds between Bruce Bird and Ben Thomas in the GC, 8 seconds back to Charlie Velez and Alec Jones sitting in fourth at 20 seconds back. Can Bruce Bird make up 5 seconds on a Criterium day like today?
It's a tough course. I think Ben Thomas is riding extremely well, but the other part to think about is Team Tour 2000, 3 riders in the top 5. They're going to want to look to be able to keep that GC placing, because then overall in that Echelon Racing League, Team Tour with Ben Thomas, I think, is going to move up, and they also have a chance to take over the team standing. So a lot on the line for the Echelon Racing League in the overall, but also for the Joe Martin stage race for the overall.
Well, let's talk about that ride by Bruce Byrd yesterday. He finally got the win that he had been hunting for all season. We saw some early attacks from guys like Kevin Bouchard-Hall here trying to get things started, trying to lift the pace a little bit. But then it was the attack from a long way out. Bruce Byrd actually launched several attacks inside the last roughly 20 kilometers of racing before being brought back. He went away again. He got brought back, went away again. And then, Frankie, it was that final attack inside the last, maybe 3 kilometers where he went away and was able to hold off a charging Ben Thomas behind him. It was an amazing ride for Bruce Byrd yesterday.
Yeah, a very hard and difficult uphill finish. And he actually very tactically went on a flatter portion before the climb and then was able to hold everybody off to be able to take the win. But it was a big, big effort by Bruce Byrd, and it paid off. Very aggressive racing, and finally he gets the win. So you can see that. High fives all around. A lot of smiles right there out of Bruce.
So Byrd gets it by 15 seconds over Thomas. Alec Jones in third place on the day. Chris Huberti ends up fourth, and Charlie Velez holds on for fifth place from the Hugh Dog Racing team. All right, well, Criterium Day today as we move from the long road race to a shorter Criterium course profile here presented by VeloViewer. Phil, I want you to take us through this one because this is maybe one of the more unique Criterium courses in America. I love this course in downtown Fayetteville.
Yeah, the start finish is up the top of the hill, and then there's a flat before the first corner and the first wheel pit. You go left hand and right hand, and past the start finish line a block away, you can get a gap of how the riders are going past and where the gaps are in the group. Yeah, here we are at the start finish line, coming to that first corner.
Yeah, I was watching this earlier before we went on air. This uphill finish, it does not look fun on the way up to the line. It looks like most of the speed is sort of on the backside of this course, Phil.
Yeah, for sure. Especially once you go down Dixon Street. There's a good downhill there. Again, we're taking the left hand, going past the downtown square here and the post office, the old post office on the right. The glass building with the white and black here is normally a hotel. And we're going to take this left-hander and we're going to head towards Dixon Street. So this is a downhill getting to Dixon Street, and then we'll take that left on Dixon Street and even get some more speed. At the bottom there will be the Arts Center and another wheel pit. Right here, you can't rest. You still got to be on the gas and pay attention, improve your position, use your abilities to be near the front, because as soon as gaps open up, especially on the hill to the finish, that's not where you want to be. So, all right, here we are onto the Dixon Street, and this is the entertainment area. We're going to go past the drugstore here, and then down farther, we're going to be in the restaurants and the bars, and the Walton Arts Center will be down on the bottom corner here on the left-hand side. But again, this is another place you can't relax. You got to see, you got to keep moving up. Checking your position.
It seems like the corner is pretty wide for the most part through here. I mean, if you do get speed, it seems like you can carry it pretty well through just about every part of this course.
Yeah, the corners are not necessarily big braking. Now, there are, the transitions for the walkways for people that you got to pay attention to, and, the turtles for the reflectors, but they do a good job trying to remove those in the corners for the race. All right, we're going to come up here. Yeah, we're going to do a right hand and then up the hill to the finish line. It is not easy.
Yeah, uphill drag to the line. That's going to make things really interesting. We're going to see these guys do it 25 times out there today as our pro men get underway and rolling. We'll take a look at the front with Ryan Knapp leading the way. This is cool. Starting to see some familiar Criterium names up here at the front, Frankie.
Yeah, Ryan Knapp from First Internet Bank. I think he got a little bit gapped off yesterday, so he didn't want to make that same mistake today. So making sure he put the power to the pedals and launching himself into that front group. He's the director for that First Internet Bank, and they have like 4 riders in the race here. So, they're a good Criterium team. They're a good road racing team, and actually they won the 2019 overall Joe Martin stage race. So a nice start by Ryan Knapp to make sure that he doesn't get gapped off. And that's what a lot of these other riders are going to be thinking about, is just trying to be able to stay in contact for those first few laps to make sure that they have a chance to be able to be there at the end.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the guys adapting to the Criterium style of racing today, because the corners, the acceleration, all that stuff is hugely important on the RGT platform, especially with the new physics update. They've really been working to try to make that as realistic as possible. So, for example, Frankie, in the corners, I know you started to learn this in your first foray onto RGT, but there's an art to how you go into these corners. You want to make sure you're not taking too much power all the way through the corner.
Yeah, generally it's coming into the corner where if you're going too quick, it'll kind of reduce your power output. You'll go into the red, and so you can coast a little bit going into the power, and I would say about halfway through the corner, you can start pedaling again and then have full power available to you. But if you try to go in pedaling the entire time, you're kind of just working against yourself. And so there is a little bit of a learning curve, and many of these riders have, they've done some criteriums and some of the other events that we have had. So experience could play a pretty good part here as we see Kevin Brochard Hall. Now look at the watts there. Everybody's in the red right now as Kevin Brochard Hall is trying to lead them out, going, what is that, 7 watts per kilogram? Almost 569 watts. I mean, that's insane right now on lap number 1.
Yeah, we saw this yesterday, an early attack from Bouchard Hall off the front, trying to make things as tough as he can early on this, what is the longer section of the course here as they go back through the start-finish line. So it has been aggressive early on here. Want to bring in our race director, Bruce Dunn, from the Joe Martin Stage Race in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Bruce, Criterium Day is always my favorite day, but looking at the course profile there, watching some onboard video, this looks like a classic American crit. I mean, this looks like a good time in downtown Fayetteville.
Yeah, we're really excited for this Criterium because you just cannot sit back. It is not one of those, parade days for the GC riders. And that's what we believe is so special about the Experience Fayetteville Criterium. You've got to race it. You've got to stay on your toes, because if not, you'll go somebody over the top of you.
Yeah, we were talking about whether the guy in second place in GC, Bruce Bird, this weekend is going to be able to bring back 5 seconds on a Criterium. Normally, I would say no way, but this course, you might be able to do it. You might be able to get 5 seconds on RGT today, so it's going to be really interesting to watch. Hey, Bruce, you got some big news today. We are announcing the in-real-life dates coming up for 2021. You guys are getting this thing off the ground this year, and we're making the announcement at the end of this race. I know you're pumped. Have you been able to contain your excitement over the last few days? Been bubbling over here.
You can see the big smile on my face. And last night I was scared to death. I didn't sleep a week knowing that we're actually going to announce a real in-life person event. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure, a lot of expectations. The teams are ready, we're ready, the city's ready. But event production in a normal environment is stressful. So we're excited. I'm ready to get back to racing.
I like the way that you said that, ready. You guys at All Sports Productions have been sort of slowly building this protocol, getting ready for a safe reopening. You've had some in-person events, but we're kind of slowly building this safety protocol and safety plan to make sure that we can race safely.
Yeah, and we're working with all the other race directors across the country, the UCI, USA Cycling, our local health officials. So, when you show up, whether you're a racer or a spectator, you're going to have protocols that have been tested already last year, and then even more so this year. And so we're excited.
All right, Bruce, we're going to let you go here as we see some guys starting to fly off the front. Pro Women get underway this afternoon at 12:30, so we're going to be making that announcement right around 12:20. We'll have the in-real-life dates for 2021 at the Joe Martin Stage Race. Bruce Dunn, thank you so much. Frankie, seeing some guys trying to get off the front here. Looks like a couple teammates trying to get something started here. I see a pair of these blue jerseys flying away off the front.
Yeah, Aled Jones and Ravel trying to be able to go up the road. But it's interesting, you talk about, the amount of laps that they have to do, 25 laps, and every single time they're getting on that hill, they're putting out, 7.7 watts per kilogram, which is a huge amount. And that's what's going to be interesting, is to see who can sustain that, regularly putting out 500-600 watts every single time going up the hill. And it's going to be a matter of fatigue once guys start to get dropped. But very aggressive racing. And like you said, time gaps could open up on this course as we see 5 riders really pushing the pace on the downhill to try to get away.
Looking at Charlie Revel here from Team Tour 2000. He was one of those 2 blue jerseys that you saw rocket to the front. You can see up in the top left some riders in the red zone showing the red power bar beneath their name. So these guys are putting in massive efforts. That uphill climb to the line seems like it is going to be pretty major part of where this race is won and lost. Phil, is it normally down to an uphill sprint on the line? I mean, is this course able to keep the group together? Do you normally see a split? What's the racing usually like on this crit course?
It's actually varied, depending on the GC and the control of some of the pro men's teams. Some of the GC leaders will let teammates get in a break and let that go up the road and get at least a half lap gap or something crazy like that, and let that be the stage win while they wait for that uphill finish and the control as much as possible of who's where in the pack for the GC. And because it's on time and where you are in the pack, all it takes is a few meters and you've got a different time than the rest of the pack. So it's been different.
Yeah, a lot of it will depend on that GC. Frankie, I'm really looking forward to seeing if Bruce Bird can maybe get 5 seconds back. The way that Bird rode yesterday makes me think that he might be able to explode on the last lap, especially with this uphill drag to the line. If he gets it just perfect and just the right response from Ben Thomas, which would be a bad response, let's say, I think Bird might be able to pull back 5 seconds. It's going to be tough, but it's within the realm of possibility, let's say.
I think it's definitely within the realm of possibility. I mean, Bruce Bird yesterday talked about with his win on that road race is being patient. He said he had to sit back, kind of control himself, and him controlling himself still meant that he attacked like 3 or 4 times, before he got away. So he's going to try to be patient and try to be able to wait. And I think for a lot of these guys, to be able to put that huge power out every single time going up through the start-finish line, you got to balance that out a little bit because you're going to run out of juice a little bit later on. But time gaps are close. I mean, if you go down to top 5 are within 23 seconds, so that's really not that much. And Team Tour has 3 guys in the top 5, so they're going to want to control this a little bit, and they have a good chance of being able to hold on. But it's going to be interesting to see how Bruce Bird races this and how much he kind of keeps in reserve for the race later on. I think we're taking a look here still at the first group.
I see Will Harden surging to the front there. I would guess that this group ends up a little larger than we saw yesterday. The selective nature of the long road race course claimed plenty of victims out of the group yesterday, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this group staying together for the rest of the race, or for at least for the next 30 or 40 minutes of racing here, because these guys all pretty capable in this group. About 30, I think 32 maybe is the last guy at the back there, Will Harden. So we'll say 30 guys in this group. Love the helicopter view. I feel like I'm there. I feel like I'm flying 8,000 feet above these guys.
Now, during the real life race, we have some time bonus preems as well as regular cash and merchandise preems. Is that something we're going to encounter here today?
No time bonuses today, but we are working on that. I'm dreaming of the day when we can do preems here on RGT, because I think that's going to be super cool once we can start giving some real life money out there. Can you imagine you just do a sprint and then you get like a PayPal notification? There's $50 waiting for you at the end of it. But no, none of those today. No bonus sprints, no time bonuses, anything like that.
Well, just the gamification of the coins dropping in your into your account.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to pay in GameStop stock. Good look at Charlie Velez here from the Hugh Dog Racing team. Velez has been one of the more consistent riders in the Echelon Racing League this year, moving over from the Canyon Esports team over to Hugh Dog at the start of the year. Nice pickup for them. And this might be a good one for Velez today. He's got a pretty good sprint on him. If they can make it selective in the last 10 minutes or so, Charlie Velez definitely a name to watch out there today.
Yeah, and I
Frankie,
think
it's
Charlie
tough to
Velez-
pick. I was going to say it's tough to pick sprinters in this game. I mean, it's pretty tough to see like who the pure sprinters are on RGT versus real life. It's obviously easier to tell.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It doesn't play out the way pure speed would because you need that power. It's a matter of having a power sprinter. So, Charlie Velez has shown he's had pretty good form. Second in the time trial, he was fifth in the road race, and so this could set up pretty well for him. But it's not like in real life where the fast men are the fast men. It seems like every time we get into the finish, you see different guys kind of excelling with their sprint, and it's very different also because you really don't have the lead out that you normally would, so that would give an advantage to a sprinter in keeping position because it's kind of free for all in the virtual world. I also going to add on this course, normally taking a free lap wouldn't really be that big of a deal in real life, but on this course, if you can get a free lap because of a puncture or whatever it is, you have a big advantage because you don't have to do that hill one of those times.
Yeah, no free laps here in virtual racing. If your Wi-Fi drops out, you are out of luck. Yeah, normally, Frankie, I say the riders don't want a free lap, but if you're avoiding a hill, I think it might be worth it to let the heart rate drop a little bit. Amateur riders going to have a chance to join us in the Echelon Racing League as the Amateur Series continues with the Indy Crit February 13th. The amateurs get a chance to ride the exact same course that the pros do a week before the pro race. So pros are headed to Indy Crit February 20th, and amateurs can give it a shot February 13th. Just go to echelonracingleague.com, click on races, and then you'll see the amateur and pro series. Free to race, and the RGT platform free to race on as well. Charlie Velez back to the front. Look at all these guys in the red zone here, Frankie.
It's every time on the hill. They have to because they don't want to take a chance of getting gapped or getting dropped. And so that's what makes it pretty tough. Once they come over the top, they're able to kind of sit up and rest a little bit. But look, 7.5, 7.4 watts per kilogram. Huge efforts every single time on the uphill. And on the bottom part of the course, turns like 5 and 6 before you get to the climb, they have to fight for position. So really, there's not a whole lot of letting up on this course because position plays a big factor in RGT. And also, obviously, you got to put out the power to be able to get to the top of the climb in the front.
Yeah, it's been interesting watching these guys on camera because you can see how explosive the efforts are where they get out of the saddle, and then when you rest, you rest. I mean, look at these guys coasting on the way down right now, but realistic. I mean, you get a chance. You're certainly pedaling less in real life than we see on a lot of these virtual platforms.
Yeah, one thing I noticed also, and you've talked about this, Brad, about conserving and being patient. And Bruce Bird, with his win yesterday, despite the big attacks that he did and the big efforts, he had one of the lowest average watts per kilogram out of the top 5 or 6 riders. So he did a great job in being able to utilize that draft and coasting when it was right time to coast, recovering when it was the right time to coast. You can see him coasting right there, waiting for the downhill, waiting for the turn, and then reapplying the power. So he did a great job in conserving his energy yesterday, and I think he's going to be kind of having that in his mind today to try to be able to get those 5 seconds back. But Ben Thomas is experienced. He's done a lot of virtual racing. He's very experienced in the RGT platform, so that's going to be a tough challenge for these guys. They're definitely going to have their eyes on each other.
The dynamics of the overall racing in the Echelon Racing League have been really interesting this season. I like when a good series goes all the way down to the wire. And we're talking about a leadership change in the last 4 days of racing, 5 days of racing left after this one. So the Bird-Thomas battle shaping up to be a good one here as we get ready to head to Indy Crit, and then they're going to do a one-day Dirty Reaver single-day road race basically before we head to 4 days at the Tour of America's Dairyland to wrap up the series here. Still a big group. Nobody getting dropped out of here, so that's good to see. Good to see more riders able to hang in for a little longer on this Criterium course. Although I do think we've lost riders since we last checked in. I think we had, I see a 32 back there, I think, for Croxton, so we might still be all together here. See some lapped riders coming through as well. Those lapped riders do stay in the race. They stay on the course, and the drafting does apply to them, so they can get back in the group and sit on, but they're still scored a lap down, just like in real life. But they don't pull them, and so you may see some riders getting swallowed up as the group moves around. There's Melville going solo off the front. put in a big effort going up and over that finishing climb, and then found himself with a little bit of space over the top. Ravel really seems to like that finishing climb. Seems like these guys, the Tour 2000 Callis riders, are omnipresent at the front here, Frankie.
Well, Bruce Bird mentioned yesterday that Team Tour did a great job in controlling the race and riding on the front. And Brad, I think you're right. They're doing those blue jerseys are ever present on the front, and they're trying to control things and make sure that they're in a good position. Obviously, their leader, Ben Thomas, is the overall, Joe Martin GC leader, so they want to try to protect that position. So we're going to see a lot of those blue jerseys kind of riding on the front and protecting it. See Olencek coming up to the front with Deckham doing a good job being in there. So what I really like is seeing that this is still a big group. It didn't dwindle down to like 10. Everybody seemed to have gotten a good start. They were able to put out the power on the climb to be able to stay in that first group. So I think, we're going to have a good group of 30 for a while here as they're trying to cover the last 36.7 kilometers.
And like the real race in real life, how much does the last couple of days play into fatigue and being aware and knowing where you want to be for today's Criterium, do you guys think?
Yeah, got to think there's some riders feeling yesterday's effort, Frankie, one of the longer days of racing that we've had on the Echelon Racing League. The good news is the shorter time trial on Friday, but even that short effort, even a 3K time trial can sting your legs pretty bad if you're in the red zone the entire time.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of riders that had to focus on kind of, rehydrating and eating because 2 hours on the trainer, an average of 4 watts per kilogram for most of the guys. That was a tough day yesterday with the climbs that were in the middle of the course and, of course, the mountaintop finish on Mount Sequoia. So, yeah, recovery a big part. And so, yeah, they're going to feel a little bit of sting in their legs. And, of course, every time they're going up this steep uphill finish, on that course profile, it said average gradient 4.5. That would be like for the whole course because that uphill finish is probably about, I would say a 7 or 8% grade going up. And, it's a tough one. The other thing they got to watch out for is timing their sprint, which is something that they're going to test out because they're doing laps. Coming out of that last corner, at least in real life, coming out of the last corner, it's about 400 meters to the line. It's a little bit too long to go from the bottom of the hill. So these guys, with the amount of laps they're going to do, they're going to be able to test themselves a little bit, kind of get a gauge of where they can go after coming out of the last corner, when to start their sprint so that they don't peter out before they get to the finish.
Yeah, you have to sort of learn that last corner just right of where to perfectly apply the power to be the most efficient. The game is written so that you're supposed to apply it basically at the apex. As soon as you get out of that apex, you're supposed to start lifting the power then. But any power while you're in that turn, basically while you're in the middle of the turn, is wasted power. You might see the numbers change to red in the top left on the rider's GUI. That basically means that they're wasting watts based on the physics of the game, whether it's the drafting, they're blocked in, or they're in a corner. There's some points in real life where you just can't put that much power in, otherwise you're going to crash, like in a corner or when you're riding in a group. And so the game sort of throttles their power. So even if you're doing 300 watts, it's only going to register 270 for your rider because, let's say 270 in the group, and those other 30 have been wasted. Ben Thomas taking a little look off the front for Team Tour 2000. This is interesting. I'm glad Thomas has the orange helmet on today. That'll make it easier to spot because I think Charlie Revel will be the other Team Tour rider that you're going to see up there a lot. Revel has been sort of the domestique, I think, for Ben Thomas today. So Team Tour 2000 with a little bit of teamwork out there. This is it's a cool tactic to see. It seems like Revel is sort of, escorting his man Ben Thomas today, Frankie.
Just making sure that they're around each other near the front. You can see those blue jerseys all near the front. Thomas making sure that he's staying in a good position. Nice to be able to see Croxton in there from Great Britain. He's on Team Tour also. I think in the beginning he was off the back and had to be able to chase to be able to get back on. That was like on lap number 1. So, the group's still staying pretty well together. Big power numbers. That's just what's so impressive watching this. Right now as they're getting ready on the climb, again, 6 watts per kilogram, 7 watts per kilogram. Every single time, they're out of the saddle, everybody going into the red to make sure that they're able to stay with the group. And eventually, after, the last 3 or 4 laps, the legs are going to peter out. And that's what's going to be to see who has that kind of fitness to be able to continually produce the power that's needed to stay in that front. It's not about producing more power. I mean, in the final sprint, it's more power, but in the laps leading up to it, it's just about being able to produce the same power lap after lap and not seeing it reduced.
Lovitz taking a little look at the front here. You can also see the riders that move up to the front quickly. Those are riders that are sort of overcompensating for the power. Taking a look at Bruce Bird's onboard camera. This is his first-person view from inside the virtual peloton out there. A lot of riders have been switching to this view because having the third-person view, they can see the riders coming up behind them, and sometimes that causes them to jump when they don't need to. So this first-person view makes it a little easier. You see how Bird is able to coast here when he gets to the front and realizes that he doesn't have anyone in front of him. So just makes it a little smoother with the power for riders here with the first-person view. I like this one. I'll tell you, it is super cool watching this on the like the railroad's descents, like the Stelvio. Watching the first person on the way down, it's pretty cool. One of the few times that I can say that I think the virtual racing has really been visually engaging for the riders. So yeah, give that a shot on RGT if you haven't done so yet. Phil, I think I heard you mention the feed zone when we were looking at the course profile. Is this one long enough that they allow feeding in the crit?
It depends on the temperature and some other, weather and extreme conditions. Generally, if it's warm enough, they'll allow feeding on the middle laps on the uphill towards the finish line. Try and keep that cleared off. The team cars are actually parked in a parking lot that sort of line that uphill drag on the inside of the loop. So it's logistically easy for the teams to organize and see jerseys for the right squads from the helpers and the soigneurs. So it works out pretty well when we need it.
I guess that's one of the other differences, Frankie, with virtual racing. You can eat and drink whenever you want. You can constantly feed, although it shouldn't be a problem for roughly an hour-long-ish Criterium today. But we've seen that a lot with riders trying to dial in their nutrition over the last year with virtual racing here, because it's pretty different from real-life racing.
Well, this is going to be a pretty intense effort today. Real intense effort. So yeah, having a gel is definitely going to help. The other big difference is, when I was a team director, I would usually sit between turns number 1 and 2, and I would sit there and, shout instructions to the riders or tell them what to do. And on this, with the virtual racing, their director's standing right next to them, so they can have constant input about what is happening, who's going where, what kind of red numbers, what kind of watts are taking place. So they can get a little bit more information in the virtual world than what I was able to give the riders when I was directing a team.
Yeah, a little slower there through turns 1 and 2, just as they get to the top of the hill. Good chance to shout some instructions.
Now, in the last couple of years, we've had a little Crybaby Hill influence, and from Oklahoma, which isn't far away from Northwest Arkansas, and so there's bacon hand-ups, especially if you're down out of the group, up on the outside of the uphill to the finish.
Well, if you're not able to get bacon on course, there's plenty of restaurants in and around downtown Fayetteville as well. We were talking to Molly Ron yesterday from Experience Fayetteville about what to do when you're off the bike. Plenty of food in Fayetteville as well.
Got it. So there is a lot to choose from. We have some excellent restaurants, excellent places to go and eat. I am very food driven, particularly after being on a bike all day. I really, really want a good meal. Dixon Street, which is right in the heart of the entertainment district, has a variety of excellent restaurants. We have craft beer. That is a question that we get asked a lot, is where can I get a good beer? We have several local breweries unique to Fayetteville that would love to offer you a flight or even a growler to take home to take back to your hotel room. Also, I don't want to leave out those of us that might prefer to have a craft cocktail rather than a beer. So we have several excellent bars in downtown Fayetteville. One in particular, Maxine's Tap Room, was recently named as one of the 50 top cocktail bars in America by Esquire magazine. And so it's definitely a chef's approach to cocktails. So they use a lot of fresh produce and a lot of local fresh produce in producing their drinks. And it really in and of itself is an experience.
Good stuff for riders and spectators in downtown Fayetteville. I gotta say, I'm getting psyched to visit Fayetteville for the first time. I'm sad to say that I've never made it to Joe Martin Stage Race in real life, but it's quickly making its way to the top of my list, to the top of my 2021 must-do list. And looking forward to getting new dates this year as well from Bruce Dunn here in about an hour from now. We're going to find out when we're racing in real life. Meanwhile, it looks like a group rolling off the front. This is Blodgett and Swart with Melville just behind them. Tanner Ward getting up there as well. But it looks like Blodgett and Swart going to be the two antagonists of this one. Pair of teammates here from Restart Racing.
Yeah, nice move. Now they got to decide if what they're going to be able to do, if they're going to continue to kind of keep that gap. And you can see the speed, and we've seen this in other times. When there's a gap, it's amazing how fast the group, when it gets together, shuts down things because they come up on them extremely quick. But Blodgett and Swart, teammates on Restart, trying to be able to put something together as they've just been wrapped up. And as Hutchings seems to be coming up to the front right now.
Well, they're going to come back together here as you see Ben Thomas in the orange helmet and the blue jersey of Team Tour 2000 Callis. But they showed that they can get a little bit of space. Now, the difficult part of virtual racing is continuing that effort, trying to keep going. I think riders are finding more and more it's increasingly difficult to try to get a breakaway going here on RGT on these Criterium platforms, partially because it's difficult to communicate, it's difficult to work together, although more and more riders have been utilizing the in-game chat. They're able to communicate with basically the entire race through an in-game chat, and so even though everyone would be able to see it, the riders up in the group or trying to get a group started would be able to send some chat communications, although sometimes it's tough to type when you're in the red zone in the box. So they're still working out how to get that communication in these breakaways.
And I'm sure the riders, have a morning meeting before the race to be able to figure out a strategy, to figure out how they want to be able to handle this race. For example, with First Internet Banking, we saw Ryan Knapp's been very present on the front. So I think he's in charge of the first part of this race, making sure that he's kind of controlling things and patrolling to be able to keep this group together. Ryan Knapp right now, you can see he's on the attack on the uphill, trying to be able to go away. Very strong rider. I talked about him being the director of First Internet Bank. And, in 2019, second at Amateur Road Race Nationals. So a very proven road rider and good Criterium rider also, as Knapp finds himself with the biggest gap we've seen so far in the race as Knapp's going up the road.
But look at the difference now. He's staying in the red zone. He's staying on the gas here while Zach Nair behind him is into green when he gets to the top. So Knapp is staying on the gas. This is definitely a long-range solo attack here, but he's going to get no help from the riders behind him. Ryan Knapp's going to find himself on his own. This will be an interesting spot for Ryan Knapp here, Frankie, because with 27.5 kilometers to go, that's a long way for a solo rider here.
Yeah, a little bit of a big gamble right now. See if his other teammates can kind of sit in and take advantage of maybe receiving the draft off some other guys. But Ryan Knapp going for it right now. And so it's great to be able to see. He's got a pretty good gap. It's going to be interesting to see if he can hold this for a lap or hold this for a lap or two. We'll kind of have a good idea if this is a gap that can actually stay established. Right now sitting only at about 70 meters. And so the uphill is going to be the difference, because guys, when it's close like that, if somebody really wants to throw down on that uphill, they can close down a small gap very, very quickly.
Well, it sounds like some of the teams are starting to try to figure out what to do about Ryan Knapp off the front. We're going to try and listen into some Discord channels from some of the men's teams here in this field. I know we've got Project Echelon. We've got Above and Beyond Cancer. We do not have First Internet Bank. We'll see if we can get access to their Discord. Not even sure if they're running one, but if they are, I would love to hear what these guys have to say for Ryan Knapp right now, because I'm sure there's some encouragement being thrown out in his earpiece. But let's listen into Project Echelon here and see what they're talking about. Not a lot. Sounds like they're wrestling with their phones.
Well, that was a big move by Ryan Knapp, and he's still in the red. So that was a huge effort that he just did to be able to try to
wear himself out.
You heard someone say he's going to wear himself out.
Will Harden from Draft Racing now counterattacking. So this is like real Criterium racing. I love
you get enough attacks. You need to be in a small group, and you got to fully commit to it. There's no going solo on this one.
It's interesting. They don't believe a solo rider can get away, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. It's going to be groups of riders. If somebody goes away by themselves, they might let them be.
I think that was Zach Nair talking about the fact that it's going to be really tough for a solo rider to go away. Small groups only, I think he was saying. So I think Will Harden is getting that message here. He's kind of letting up a little bit, just trying to see if he can tack anyone onto the back of him and then try and take them off the front with him. Breakaways are tough on virtual racing, and, well, they're always tough in real life as well, but I think that's maybe one of the missing parts of virtual racing here. Look at the focus for Will Harden. This guy's built like a tank.
He's like frustrated he got caught. Doesn't like that. The young 22-year-old out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, now wrapped back up into the group. So you know what? You got to just reshuffle the cards and kind of get yourself, kind of get your mindset correct and kind of get back into the game plan. But it was a great counterattack. And just, you know, I think a little bit of frustration that nobody went with them. You know, you need 2 or 3 guys, and that's in real life also, right? Going away solo by yourself is always difficult. 2 or 3 guys, you'll have a better chance, and it just seemed like nobody else with 20, you know, almost 25 kilometers to go was willing to take that gamble.
Yeah, one of the more frustrating elements of racing when you can't get anyone to join you in the breakaway, or when your breakaway companions aren't working or aren't helping. It's a little harder to sit in on RGT in a breakaway. The effects of not helping in a breakaway are much more pronounced in real life than they would be on the virtual racing platforms here. But you can still be a hanger-on in the group. See this yellow jersey fly into the front. I'm going to try to recognize that kit, Frankie. Do you know what the yellow kit in here is? I see the Seasucker getting playing coaching. That's like the bright green, but there were some yellow jerseys shooting through the field. Oh, that might be Skyline?
I didn't notice the yellow one, so I'm not sure which one it was.
That could have been a
as
lap
far as
rider. Go ahead, Phil.
As far as breakaways go, one thing that is big at Joe Martin is out of sight, out of mind. And with the scrolling count here, it's definitely harder to think about who's not up the road or who is up the road.
Yeah, it's a nice bit of information to be able to see the race situation at all times. Certainly something that they don't get in real life. Normally, you would have to get your information from Frankie yelling at you between turns 1 and 2.
And hopefully I'm doing a job at the stage as well, trying to keep everybody involved.
True. That's true. We got Bilko on the PA, keeping us updated too. A couple Project Echelon guys moving through the group. Don't forget, Project Echelon and every team in the ERL has their web shop open at wearenations.com. Each team has a line of T-shirts, hats, and hoodies, and a portion of proceeds from every item purchased goes back to the teams and riders. Again, that is at wearenations.com, official merchandise of the Echelon Racing League.
Well, you can see everybody right now sitting in the green and the blue, which is the endurance and tempo zone. So not too bad. Granted, they're on the downhill, minus 4% on a, they're able to coast and be able to recover. But that's something that's important in being able to take advantage of, because, one side of the course is so difficult, you have to be able to recover at some point. And so, getting into that green zone where you can kind of get your heart rate down, kind of flush out some of that lactic acid, kind of get yourself set up while keeping position, because positioning is important on the RGT platform. And so now I see that bright yellow jersey. I'm not sure who that is as he comes up to the front.
Yeah, so I figured it out. It is the community qualifier. So the rider that qualifies from the amateur series gets a chance to race in the pro series, the top 10 riders from the amateur series. So that yellow kit is Jan de Cade, a German rider who graduated from the amateur race up to the pro field this weekend for the Joe Martin stage race. So nice to see he made this selection. He's in the group, Frankie.
So is it Jan, like you said, Deca, right?
Yep.
So he also rode in the Redlands race. And so he did some of the Redlands races also. So he's gaining experience, the German rider, as he goes around. He's doing a fantastic ride. I mean, I would not consider him a community rider if he's been able to put out and watch the way he's putting out right here and staying with these other guys. So super ride from Jan Deca right now.
Deca was the winner of the Vive la France race on RGT. That's where he got this yellow jersey, unlocked it by winning that Vive la France race on RGT. Thank you, Damon from ZMS Livestream, for the information on that. Meanwhile, Charlie Beek taking a look off the front here.
He's a strong rider, Charlie Beek, 24 years old, racing for Team Tour. So part of Team Tour's tactics also, trying to be able to control this group. He's raced a lot. Charlie Beek has raced a lot in Italy. And back in 2018, he rode the Baby Giro. And when I talk about the Baby Giro, I don't really mean like for kids, but the under 23 Giro d'Italia. So if you're able to get through that race, you're going to have, you're a strong rider. And so Charlie Beek right now has to respond. Got to kind of get into the red to be able to make sure he gets on that draft, because Charlie Velez has decided to go up the road along with Ben Thomas. And so with Ben Thomas and Beek, their teammates, both of them putting down the hammer right now, trying to be able to separate themselves from the rest of the group.
Yeah, look at the field, realizing how dangerous that move was, seeing those three guys up there. Just about everybody tried to grab a ticket on that train. So that's going to put Beek back in the group as Blackburn takes over on the front, setting tempo here. Good try there. I mean, it looked like they were starting to get organized. They had three really good guys separated, but I think the three guys up there were too good, and that caused everyone in the field to panic a little bit and try to bring them back. So Ravel hitting the front. You see a little bit of damage at the back here, Frankie.
That's what I was going to bring up. Look at the damage. Look at the gaps that had opened up because of that big effort. The TGV was departing, and everybody wanted to be a part of it. So that put a lot of riders in trouble in the back here. And so if they're in trouble now on this part of the course, wait until they get around to the climb. Will they have enough time to recover, and will they be able to stay in the group? And so really the hammer's going down right now with 20 kilometers to go, as right now they're on that finishing stretch.
Yeah, some riders cracking out the back. This is Bowen saying goodbye to the group, as looks like his day in the main group will be done, although I'm not seeing him register a ton of power here, so this might be a tech issue for Bowen. He's just kind of plodding along here, but looks like some bad luck. Meanwhile, Uberti taking a look off the front. Boy, this is aggressive racing here with 20K to go.
Just like real crit racing, counterattack after counterattack. This is great to be able to see. Uberti, I talked about, he's a very good Criterium rider, does a lot of cross, coming out of Michigan as he just gets swallowed up. Melville sitting in the back at about 15th, trying to be able to kind of stay with them. You can see Christopher Uberti right there. Races on the track, races cross, good crit rider, good road rider. He's definitely a solid rider on that first Internet Bank cycling team. And, we have to be able to bring up part of the team that won the 2019 overall in the pro race for the Joe Martin stage race. So a good group of riders here in this virtual race.
Well, it looks like they're going to all come back together here in the group. Let's bring Bruce Dunn back in as we are getting down to lunchtime here in Eastern Standard Time here, Bruce. I am, in my mind, I'm in virtual Fayetteville, Arkansas. So where do I go for lunch today?
Oh, several great places. Hugo's, you guys talked about it yesterday. It's down in the basement. You don't have to knock 3 times to get in anymore, Frankie, but great hamburgers. We always go out on Ditcher Street to Farrell's, another one of our favorite places. And then one of my good friends started one of the best Italian places, Bordino's. So those are just a few, but there's a lot of great places.
Bruce, what else is going on race day in downtown Fayetteville on Criterium Day? I know you guys got a lot going on. It's a party in downtown Fayetteville.
It is a party. We certainly have not been able to capture Crybaby Hill yet, but Church Hill is actually the finishing stretch, and so there's a group called Church Hill, and they love to have fun. We have a kids zone. We have bouncy houses. I know it makes some fans a little nervous, but we love bouncy houses. And, a lot of good vendors, food court, beer garden. And when it's a beautiful day, as Phil knows, it's just it's a great day because it's typically been in the spring. Flowers are blooming. And so we have a lot of fun on the crit day because we've reached the end of 4 days.
How could you possibly have a problem with a bouncy house? What kind of person doesn't like a bouncy house? You got to send them my way. I got some words.
Yeah, even as the first time it was there, they kicked me out.
And Bilko was telling us about the bacon hand-ups on the hill as well. Sounds like you guys are slowly descending into the chaos that we all want in a Criterium race.
Yeah, every once in a while, the UCI officials walk down and go, "No bacon hand-ups." And so it's pretty funny because they may not have seen a bacon hand-up. They may not have seen a crit, depending on where they came from. So it's pretty exciting to see our UCI officials on Sunday during a Criterium and all the kind of madness that takes place.
Welcome to the United States, UCI officials. Bruce, thank you very much. We are going to hear from Bruce here in just a little bit after this men's race wraps up because we're getting ready to announce our in-real-life dates for the Joe Martin Stage Race 2021. They are putting some dates on the calendar. I'm not going to say in pen, but I think they're writing it a little heavier in the pencil. They're outlining it. So we're making progress. And we do have a date announcement coming up in between our pro men's and pro women's race here at the virtual Joe Martin Stage Race. All right, we were watching Zach Nair try and take a look off the front. They brought him back. You see a lot of riders fanning out here, trying to just get a look at the front, make sure that they're there if something goes. It's just like real life racing, Frank. You got to patrol the front here on RGT.
Yeah, I just saw a little shake of the head from Zach Nair. You can see him all the way back in 24th right now, trying to be able to pin himself to be able to get back in that draft. So that's the gamble of going off the front and then having to be able to get back on. He's got a little bit of a gap to be able to make up, but shaking his head just in frustration that, man, I'm going that hard and everybody's able to come back up to me. And so it's kind of, very aggressive, very fast, hard racing taking place. So the Marion graduate is right now just tagging onto the back of this group as Matt Main, who's a previous winner in Redlands, is on the front right now.
Yeah, Matt Main, another rider that we saw sort of move up from the ranks from amateur racing into the pro fields and then got a pro stage win as well for the Insured presented by Pedal Power Team. See Main working his way up to the front now. You can really see the elevation on that shot over the shoulder, Frankie.
Maine was very impressive from what he was doing at Gateway Park. Winning Giro del Montagna, winning Benton Park. So that's 2 wins at Gateway Park. Really came onto the scene and put, kind of made everybody take notice, put a target on his back. So got to be able to watch out for him. He's a strong rider out of Iowa.
Knapp back at
first
the front
after again.
Yep. After his first lap attack.
But patrolling first internet bank. I mean, Ryan Knapp so far, he's like staying in there, doing a fantastic job, making sure that he's keeping things, not letting anything kind of get away without a first internet bank representative. And right now, Ryan Knapp has been the one really working on the front. We saw one move from Uberti. Haven't seen anything from Tanner Ward. Tanner Ward's been sitting in, being patient. And then Johnny Purvis. I don't know if Johnny Purvis is in the race today. I think he missed out yesterday also. He did do the time trial, but that's another member on that First Internet Bank. As you see, Charlie Velez has recovered, made it back into the group. So now he's going to have to think about how to be able to take, you're going to need, after a big effort like that, you need a couple of laps to kind of sit in, do nothing, kind of regroup, and then figure out how you want to handle this last, 10 kilometers of the race.
Here's a look at Tanner Ward. Trying to find him in the group here. I'm not sure where Tanner is, but he's got a pretty good setup wherever he's racing from. He's got a nice open area here. I think he's in a gym or a university training center, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, definitely not his house, unless he lives in a mansion, which would be nice. But he spent some time racing in Europe in 2018. Super strong rider, but he got very late getting into cycling. He used to be a runner. He only started riding when he was 21 years old, and he started off with the college club team at University of Arkansas in Fayetteville. And so that's kind of how he got into cycling. And really, it's his strength, his running background, his fitness, and things just started taking off for him.
So, Phil, this is sort of a hometown rider here for Fayetteville.
Yeah, I believe so. And the First Internet team, I think, is based out of Indiana. Ryan Knapp from not far from Bloomington and Nashville. So all these guys are in the Midwest, and they definitely, year after year, look at Joe Martin as their capstone and calling card to try and apply for bigger tickets at other races, or maybe even a ride in Europe or South America or something.
Yeah, let me point you to one Stephen Bassett last year, who went on to have, one of the most incredible seasons that we've seen in domestic American racing in a long time. I know he had a win at Joe Martin as part of that, so it's just another example of the talent that goes through the field at Joe Martin Stage Race.
And I give props to Ryan to using the team as a development for talent that they spot and try and help them also as a team.
Well, Chris Uberti and Aled Jones finding themselves off the front here. Uberti started it. Jones joins him, and I was going to say goes by him, but looks like Uberti going to be able to stay on the wheel here. Nice job by these guys working together. This is lap traffic that they're working through right now, so they should be able to go right through those guys. And then here's the response from the field. Look at a draft racing jersey shooting up through the group. Matt Main sees something he likes up at the front here as well. So when these guys see names like Chris Uberti getting up there, this is real power starting to go up the road. And looks like everybody trying to get a piece of this action.
Well, two dangerous GC riders. Aled Jones only 20 seconds back on the general classification. Uberti at 40 seconds back. So two strong guys who did well in the. And so, if you let them combine forces, that's going to be a tough one to be able to bring back. So draft racing, obviously trying to protect Bruce Bird's position, bringing it back. But I love how First Internet Bank is racing this like a crit, counterattacking off the moves, trying to be able to go off the front, taking turns with different teammates to kind of keep the pressure on this race. And again, look at the split happening in the back. You're sending some guys definitely into the red on the portion of the course that's not the uphill. That's going to present them, that's going to give them some problems a little bit later on. But the group's still remaining relatively big. It's great to be able to see how many guys are able to stay with this front group right now.
Yeah, a lot of times, like we said, the action is going to be at the back of the group. It's guys just slowly coming unglued, especially after these attacks, because that lifts the entire tempo of the group. Obviously, the power requirements to stay go up as well.
That's definitely the case at the start-finish line in real life. Watching the front for time bonuses and preems, and then watching the back to see if there's how many we might lose and whether or not they're making the time cut.
It's all those bacon hand-ups at the back. That's probably why.
At least get some prize for how hard you've worked, not only all weekend,
right,
but here in the Criterium.
Hugh English back up on the front taking a look. We're going to go back and listen in to Project Echelon Discord here. We'll keep this open for a little bit. See if these guys are talking about anything fun. Although I'm not sure there's much strategy at this point. 11.5K to go.
How many laps are left? We got 7 miles. Laps?
5 to go?
6 laps. Yeah. It's a 1.2 mile circuit. That's good.
Yeah.
So there you go,
lap
some of
counter
the
would actually
information. Yeah.
Yeah, they're having to figure it out. 1.2 kilometers around and having to figure out how many laps to go. But a lap counter actually would be pretty useful for them and for us.
At least for the leaders, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get some lap cards up here. We're showing 5 to go on the counter, so we can start knocking those down.
And this is generally in real life where. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, this is in real life about where we throw out that gambler's premium and see if anybody wants to make some extra money and carry that momentum to first place.
Looks like Bruce Bird wants to get paid.
And he's in the red right now, putting out some big watts as Bruce Bird. 676 watts. It's insane. They're on the uphill. Granted, they're heading up towards that finish line, but 600 watts repeatedly. Remember, 25 laps, so they're having to do this lap after lap. So Bird is just reeled back in. Kevin Bouchard Hall comes up to the front right now. Restart Racing really put together a great kind of meeting to be able to have a good program today for this race. And so Restart Racing has been all over the front. Got to give them a lot of credit for the tactics that they're using today.
We saw Bouchard Hall aggressive yesterday in the road race. And then we saw a pair of those restart guys, like you talked about, getting away or trying to get away together. And now he's working with Hutchings, trying to bring back Chris Uberti.
Uberti must be feeling pretty good. Got to say, he's third big attack that he's tried to be able to go off the front. Ryan Knapp, his teammates, have gone off the front a couple of times. Bouchard Hall now out of the saddle, trying to be able to get up to Uberti's wheel. Well, so far we've seen probably 5 times where one rider was not able to stay away. The breakaway couldn't establish itself, not even for one lap. Will 3 riders be able to establish a gap and maybe make it stick for more than one lap?
Hutchings, Uberti, and Bouchard Hall trying to have a go at it. Uberti doing a nice job sitting in right here, really moderating the power well to sit on the wheel of Hutchings here. I'm worried that both these guys up at the front are still in the green and blue zones. They're going to have to do a little more power to get a clean break. They've got the opportunity here, Frankie, but I know it's easy to say here from the other side of the microphone, but these guys need to stay on it like Uberti's doing right here. Red at the front of the group. That's what you need to see if you want to get this breakaway going.
Yeah, and that's a good, if you can go, I mean, you don't want to go too much red, but if you can have a little bit of the gap at the bottom of the hill and then pin it over the hill and keep that gap, you're going to have a chance of being able to stay away. But it looks like everybody just got wrapped back up. Hayden Warner come flying by over the top of these guys. You see the group all back together. Man, it's a tough one to get away on this course. It seems like it's like just never kind of changing for these guys.
But it seems like guys are learning where they can get enough of a gap, and if you can do it late enough in the race, that 2 laps to go or 1 lap to go, could that be enough, like Bird showed yesterday, to have a padding to hold off a charge?
Yeah, good point, Phil. I mean, we've seen guys open up 30 seconds. It doesn't last. It doesn't stay at 30 seconds, but 30 seconds at the right time can be a race-winning move. So, yeah, it seems like they're really trying to use that hill to their advantage on the way up. It's a lot tougher on the downhill. The physics adjustments going into this weekend's races. RGT is constantly updating the game, and the most recent physics adjustment made it a little, the downhill drafting, it minimized that effect a little bit, so it makes it a little tougher for a solo rider to try to get away on the downhill section. So I think they're using the hill out there today on the way up to the finish. You can see the elevation profile on the top right of the picture. It just shows basically like the last 200, 300 meters behind them and the 200 or 300 meters in front of them. And then the white dots represent the other riders in the group. So you can see Bruce Bird just a little bit off the front here, looking for back-to-back victories this weekend at the Joe Martin Stage Race. All right, so there we go. Lap counter showing 4 up at the top of your screen as Melville hits the front. And Bruce Bird gets a little rest. A lot of rest. Still resting. More rest than I could have expected. An exceptional amount of rest. There he goes.
I'm surprised you could coast that long. That's pretty good. That's knowing the system.
Totally. Yeah, we talked about, Phil was talking about how the guys are learning where to attack, where to get away. Same thing where the guys are learning where to sit in and where they can rest. I think that's exactly what Bruce Bird is doing here, learning how to be the most efficient. Maybe not looking to get away yet, but he is looking for where he can get that power meter down to 0, where he can rest. And it looks like he's found at least a few places on this course where he can hide out a little bit and try to save some energy for the finish.
Definitely like real life. The downhill and the uphill give you that sort of no pedaling, just turning and coasting, and then on the uphill, you're bleeding out your ears.
Down to 6K to go as they charge their way up to the top of this hill. That'll take us down to 3 laps to go as they roll through the experienced Fayetteville start-finish line. Bruce Bird going again through the line. This is what he was saving his energy for right here, Frankie.
He's trying to take 5 seconds out of Ben Thomas, and then he can win the overall. So Bruce Bird definitely giving it a lot of energy right now in the red, trying to establish this gap. Zach Nair, you can see highlighted in the back there on the front, chasing it down, but somebody is just behind him in blue, and so a blue jersey means it's a team tour, so it'll be interesting to see which rider this is. He just comes by. Oh, it's Alan Jones. So Alan Jones also dangerous, only 20 seconds back on the GC.
Well, Jones might be covering for Ben Thomas here, doing the chasing so that Thomas can sit back and save his energy. I'm wondering if they sent Jones up the road to try to tack back Bruce Bird here, as Team Tour 2000 might be one of the better organized squads in this group.
Well, you can see Restart Racing, Above and Beyond Cancer, Team Tour, Draft Racing, First Internet Bank. These are some of the main players that are still in this front group that I'm seeing right here in this view. As you can see, they're flying on the downhill right now. 3% downhill as Melville's been having a good ride too. He's been all over the front, so he's definitely been paying attention and keeping himself in a good position. As Ben Thomas, your current GC leader, finally comes up to the front.
So we're talking about this group trying to stay together, down to looks like 21 riders remaining in the front group. Remember, we were at basically 32 when it all kind of shook out after the first few laps of racing. And now with 3 laps to go, we've only lost about 10 guys out of that group. So that tells me that there's still some dry powder in here, Frankie.
Kevin Brochard Hall in that upper right-hand corner. He's just dripping sweat. You can see putting in a huge effort on the uphill. Bruce Bird wearing a full jersey. Zach Nair looking, putting in an effort, but looking pretty comfortable. And Tanner Ward out of Little Rock. He lives in Little Rock, Arkansas. Looking pretty comfortable also as they're on this uphill. A lot of guys going into the red. And again, it's that repeated effort of 7 watts per kilogram, going, 600 watts, trying to do that lap after lap. Melville coming over the top right now with a little bit of a gap.
I figured out where Tanner Ward is located right now. He's at his coach's training facility. You remember Scotty Wilborn Lechuga. Scotty and her husband Ernie opened a new training facility called the Natural State Rockin' Republic. They've got a training facility down there, and that's where Tanner is riding from today. It looks nice.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous. Very nice. I bet you if they did some lactate testing, it'd be through the roof. Well, getting down to 2 laps to go. Finally, Ben Thomas starting to show himself, coming up to the front. 6 times he's done the Marathon Mountain Bike World Championships. Big-time mountain biker, has his own coaching, Ben Thomas Coaching, and has been very, very successful on this virtual platform. Currently, your overall race leader taking that lead on the Joe Martin time trial. Had a good ride yesterday in the road race. Now just holding a 5-second lead over Bruce Bird. And so this is what they're after right now, is Thomas now is not sitting in. He's really patrolling the front. Ryan Knapp also coming back up to the front. So that group of about 30 now, I think, we're down to probably maybe 20 guys in this front group right now.
Matt Main trying to thin that out maybe even a little more as he rockets around the corner. And back into the group.
Yeah, one thing to keep an eye on is coming out of that last turn. Again, it's a long ways to the finish line. I don't know if you're going to want to be on the front coming out of there. At the same time, you can't be too far back. And in virtual racing, it's a little bit different. You don't really, you're going to get a little bit of the draft, but you just got to be able to put out the power to be able to stay there. Charlie Ravel sitting on the back right now, putting out about 7 watts per kilogram to be able to keep up with the riders. Maine looks like he's kind of pushing the pace, but everybody's still staying together right now. 2 kilometers to go.
That takes us down to 1 lap to go.
That's what I was wondering. I was wondering if this is bell lap. So this will be our final lap now. Phil, it'll be interesting to see if anybody takes a flyer as Ryan Knapp now is patrolling on the front for First Internet Bank.
Knapp into the red. Thomas right there. Go ahead.
Being the last lap, this isn't the time to save energy. This is the time to put it out because the race is going to be over.
You're going to see them spreading out across the road, not so much sitting back because positioning is important. Like where you start that sprint is very important. So right now they're on the downhill. They're going to go through turns like 3 and 4, leading onto a little bit of flatter section. This is where they're going to have to fight for position. So really you're going to have that sprint leading up to the final turn to be able to get up the hill. But who's going to be able to put out the watts going up that final hill? You're going to see some red numbers. It's going to be very, very impressive right now after they've already done it 24 times.
Yeah, I have a feeling this group is just going to blow up on that last climb up to the line because these guys will go all in. Here goes Tanner Ward trying to launch early into the red zone inside the last kilometer. So this is basically a 1K FTP test for these guys at this point. Here goes Blackburn. Thomas is responding, but it is getting shredded at the back. So this is why you need to be close to the front here late in the race, Frankie.
Tanner Ward with 10 watts per kilogram on that attack. Blackburn reacting to it as they're getting ready to come around the corner and the sprint is getting ready to start. It's going to be all red. It's Uberti. First Internet Bank Uberti going long, trying to be able to hold off everybody. Trying to see, looks like 13 watts. I mean, that's incredible right now. So in the red, Ben Thomas trying to be able to follow it. So right now, again, Bruce Bird needs to pick up 5 seconds. That's not going to happen in this final 200 meters, but the winner is about to come up the hill. Everybody in the red is Uberti's trying to be able to hold him off, and now answered.
Uberti gets swallowed up. Warner going. Dowd trying to go. Uberti staying in there. Here goes Matt Main to the line. Main might make it work today. And Dowd going to go to the line in a photo finish. And I think Dowd got him on the line. Oliver Dowd comes in the last 50 meters to go over the top of Matt Main as Alec Jones holds on for third place on the day. Bummer for Chris Uberti today.
Went from a long ways out. Uberti went for it, but Dowd, unbelievable. He's a lightweight, only 150 pounds. The Canadian rider, he won the amateur Bucks County race, and now he just took this win. So moving up the rankings extremely quick. I mean, congratulations to Oliver Dowd.
Well, Dowd was there for a good portion of the race today. He was always riding at the front, covered some moves, but shows that he's got that last-minute kick. Got to give Uberti some credit on that one, though. I mean, he was the one guy that had the guts to try to go on that way up, got the separation, but Dowd just barely caught him at the line. Uberti will be able to hold on for second place on the day, but the Canadian Dowd going to be standing at the top of our virtual podium. Good racing out there. It's always fun when you get a field sprint. It's a little chaotic on the virtual platform, but I'm glad that it was sort of like a real-life field sprint. You never know. Bilko, it's confusing just like in real life, right?
For sure. And during the Criterium here, now we're trying to do not only individual standings on the stage, we're doing overall individual standings for the whole weekend, and then team standings. It suddenly is a crescendo of all kinds of things going on.
A lot of riders still out on course. Some of them, you know, a lap or two down as they have to finish up their ride. But I loved how the race just kind of played out like a real Criterium. You know, attacks, counterattacks, groups trying to be able to go up the road, riders taking flyers. We saw that from multiple different individuals. Bruce Bird gave it a great shot to try to take back 5 seconds to try to outseat Ben Thomas. But overall, Ben Thomas is going to be your winner of the virtual Joe Martin.
It was definitely exciting to watch.
Yeah, every time these guys do a race, it's the power that they put out. It's just so impressive. Being able to repeat, 600 watts 25 times, going up that, 8% grade towards the finish line. So it's one of the hardest Criterium courses in the United States, and it definitely played out that way today. Going to be a lot of tired riders, especially after two other days of racing going into the third day today. So, overall for the men's race, a great virtual Joe Martin stage race.
And an impressive ride from the guys at the end, the sprint at the end, the uphill ride 25 times up and over that climb. Certainly one of the tougher Criterium courses that these guys will see throughout the year. And again, Phil, I was talking about the uniqueness of this course. I mean, I just love that it's not your standard flat four-corner Criterium. This is a course that everyone knows. You're like, oh, yeah, the crit at Joe Martin. I remember that one.
Well, I consider the whole weekend really difficult, and the Criterium is like doubling down on that difficulty. It's such a big opportunity to gain time or lose it, depending on how you've paced yourself for the other stages.
Yeah, speaking of GC, right, doesn't look like Bruce Bird is going to be able to get that 5 seconds that he was looking for back on Ben Thomas. Remember, Bird was 5 seconds down on GC heading into the day. He would have needed to have beaten Ben Thomas by 6 seconds or more to move into the GC, and Doesn't look like that happened today, so I'm thinking Ben Thomas should be our GC leader here. They're calculating GC right now for the weekend of racing. So there's your stage results on the day. And I think Uberti missing from this one. I'm pretty sure he would have been into second. I think Matt Main. Well, they're game reporting Uberti in 12th on the day. I could have sworn he was right there, but I guess we'll take the computer's word for it. So Uberti dropping down to 12th as Main takes second, Jones in third, Olenicek in fourth. Kevin Bouchard Hall held on for 5th place. Ben Thomas down in 9th, and obviously Bruce Bird not ahead of him, so that means Thomas should be able to hold on to the GC lead for the weekend here at the Joe Martin Stage Race. But Oliver Dowd gets the stage win for Restart Racing by .008 seconds back to Matt Main. Close one on the line here, Frankie.
It doesn't get any closer than that. I mean, you know, they timed out that sprint going from the bottom, and it's almost like they had to shift gears halfway up to be able to bring back Uberti. Uberti took a great flyer, took a little bit of a gamble, almost held these guys off. But we've seen the sprint that Matt Main can do before, but Oliver Dowd, unbelievable ride to be able to come over there to be able to take the win.
All right, so getting ready for our pro women's race up next. We're just inside 10 minutes until their start. We're going to take a short break here from the virtual Joe Martin Stage Race, and we'll have our pro women's start when we come back.
As an athlete, getting marginally better is one thing. Getting exponentially better puts you in a whole new ballgame. Biomoto uses a proprietary digital process to capture movement at 200 frames per second and 70 sensors per foot to measure ground-based forces, resulting in advanced motion analysis that's up to 10 times more accurate than orthotics. It's the data generated by this process that allows Biomoto to construct custom insoles that make athletes faster, stronger, and more stable, and result in an unprecedented 95% success rate.
The world is changing.
I'm looking to do things better.
To improve.
Just because it's always been that way doesn't mean it's right.
I embrace change.
I seek adventure and discovery.
I explore the unexplored.
To know the unknown.
Even in the toughest moments, we ride together.
Even in the moments when we're at our limits.
We support each other. It's time to move up a level.
Push that little bit harder.
Changes we make now will make the future better for all. The efforts we put in today will pay dividends tomorrow.
We all have the power to up the game.
To build something better.
It's not time to play.
It's time to get real.
It's time to be a game changer.
Welcome back with our men's winner, Oliver Dowd. Oliver, congratulations on an exciting Criterium finish out there, a close one to the line. I mean, did you even realize that you had the win when you hit the line?
No, like I thought Matt was ahead of me there. It was like super close on the line.
Hey, so the racing out there today seemed like it was pretty aggressive at the front. It seems like a lot of these Criterium, sometimes they just roll around for the hour and then sprint to the line, but a lot of attacks out there. I mean, was there a plan for you guys at restart today? Were you trying to split it? Did you want to see a field sprint?
Yeah, we wanted to see a field sprint. So my teammates did a good job keeping everything together. The plan was Kevin and Hal would keep anything together that goes like really early on the last lap, and then Dave and Hugh were going to be the lead out men. So it all went down to plan.
Oliver, based out of Canada, have you ever raced at Joe Martin Stage Race in real life?
Oh, no. I haven't done that. I haven't raced in the States even.
All right, we got to put it on your list. I'll sponsor you to come race in 2021 at Joe Martin Stage Race, because that was super exciting watching you guys sprint to the line. Oliver, congratulations. I know your restart teammates are super pumped. I saw Mike Swart on video celebrating your win out there. So congrats on a big win for Restart Racing.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, we are just about 3.5 minutes away from our pro women's race getting ready to roll. So, Frankie, let's jump right into it as we move into our next race of the day, starting with the series setup here, heading into the weekend of racing here. There's one name and one name only that you need to know when we talk about the overall battle here at the Echelon Racing League, and that is Jackie Godby, the dominant force here in the pro women's field at the Echelon Racing League.
Yeah, so far she's been pretty much unstoppable. I mean, sure, a couple losses here and there, but generally, she's been extremely strong in the sprints, the time trials, long sustained efforts. And so this Criterium, with the power that she has, being able to go repeatedly up that climb, I think this could play out pretty well for her. So got to watch out for Jackie Godby.
Well, as we go inside 2.5 minutes, I want to bring back our in real life race director, Bruce Dunn, because we have some big news here at the Joe Martin Stage Race. Bruce is ready to reveal our in real life dates for the 2021 Joe Martin Stage Race. Bruce, we are doing it. We're green lighting it. We're getting together in person. When?
August 26th through the 29th.
All right, it's official. August 26th through 29th in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We are racing in real life at the Joe Martin Stage Race. Bruce, I know this announcement has been a long time coming for you. It's got to be a little bit of a relief knowing that we at least have a target circled on the calendar now.
Yeah, I mean, all of last year, it was a moving target, and you kept trying to say, hey, we'll do it in 3 months. We'll do it in 3 months. And we felt like the end of August was going to be would give us time to get all our permits in place and the opportunity to have spectators. The teams will be ready to travel and quite frankly, give us enough time to plan for this event. So yeah, we're super excited. A new time. The students will be back, but they won't be studying for finals like they normally do. And it'll be a little warm, but hey, we have a saying down here, sun's out, guns out.
Well, there's going to be plenty of guns out when we roll around August 26th through 29th. We are going to be giving our winners of the Joe Martin Stage Race here this weekend an entry to race in real life, and I just offered to sponsor Oliver Dowd to go race as well. So it's going to be full fields. I know there's a lot of people looking forward to getting back to racing. Bruce, keep up the good work, and I'll let you go back. Can you start celebrating with a beverage yet? It's what, 11:30 Central Time where you are?
Yeah, we try to wait till right after noon, and so we'll wait just a little bit longer, but we're definitely going to celebrate tonight and have a lot of fun. And another thing you may have noticed is that the person, if they win the ERL and then they come to the real life Joe Martin, they'll actually start in the leader's jersey. So that's something we're pretty excited about as well.
Sweet. I love that. And in fact, we saw Christy Tracy wearing her green Sprint Leaders jersey that she had from the earlier virtual Joe Martin Stage Race. So very cool. We're going to have winners jerseys for our virtual winners racing in real life. Bruce, thank you very much. We are getting ready to go racing here inside 15 seconds to the start of our pro women's field. As again, we watched Jackie Godby out here today. Godby has been so dominant in the Echelon Racing League. But again, the Criterium is certainly not her, I'm going to say not her favorite discipline of racing here, Frankie, because Godby likes a long, sustained effort, a slow burn. So the sprinters might be able to take advantage of the corners out here today at the Experience Fayetteville Criterium.
Yeah, the start extremely critical, but Lauren Matson-Coe, good sprinter. I think we got to be able to keep an eye on her to see how she's going to be. And of course, everybody in the red right now out of the saddle, making sure they're able to stay up in that front group. So first couple laps going to be a little bit of kind of feeling out the race course, kind of feeling out how hard they have to go on the uphill in order to stay with the group, because you don't want to go so hard that you launch yourself off the front. So see Danny Monahan, Annie Bonacici, Jackie Godby, Christy Tracy, Estaboville. The regular names have been able to do a great job at the start of this bike race. One thing, Brad, is I know Godby is leading the overall, but I don't have the overall standings. I couldn't find it anywhere. So do you know, like, top 4?
We will get GC standings dialed up and on the screen here in just a second. Let me work on that for you.
That will help me. Danny Monahan doing a nice job being able to stay in that front group.
Bonacici taking a look up at the front as well. See Godby sitting a little bit farther back, just kind of relaxing, biding her time at the back. And really no reason for her to panic yet, unless someone like Christy Tracy tries to get away, which probably won't happen this early in. I think it's kind of the same scenario here, Frankie. We just see a group that's slowly whittled away, but still a bigger group than we saw surviving yesterday. It went down to like 6 in the women's race for the last roughly 30K of racing in the road race yesterday.
Yeah, it was an elite group that separated themselves from the rest of the riders. And, you know, Krista Double-Hickok did a fantastic ride to finally be able to take a virtual win on that mountaintop finish. So she was excited. So that's going to give her a big boost of confidence coming into this. So she's going to be a little bit behind Jackie Godby, I think, in the overall standings. As, you know, right now these riders all just need to kind of watch out for each other. And, you know, Christy Tracy's going to be in there. I talked about Lauren Matson-Coe. There's some good, strong riders right now. So this is the first time on the uphill. Christy Tracy on the front right now, putting it about 8 watts per kilogram. Lauren Matson-Coe right behind her, making sure to stay on that wheel. So each time it's going to be a little bit different than what they usually are used to riding, which is having to get out of the saddle, put in a big effort every single time on the uphill, 24 laps to go.
I see Tracy with her green Sprinters jersey hanging behind her. When they ran the virtual Joe Martin stage race on Zwift earlier in the year, she won the sprint competition there, so they sent her a real-life green jersey.
I love that idea that Bruce mentioned with the virtual riders being able to wear the yellow jersey for the very first stage for the real-life Joe Martin stage race. I think it's a unique and a really cool idea. Also would encourage a lot of riders to be able to come and do the virtual platform. And if you have a yellow jersey, you're going to be able to line up on the front row. So that should be all part of the bonus package, part of the virtual world.
Already starting to shake it out here at the back as this group of 6, maybe 8? No, 6 here with Tracy at the back. I think these are the elite 6 in the group.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like the same 6 as last time. Godby, Weissman, Sidlick, Double-Hickok, Lauren Matson-Coe, Christy Tracy, Chaffin just off the back again. You can see them chasing just behind there. There's 3 riders you can see just off in the distance. Sidlick ended up losing contact with this group a little bit later on. And looking back at her, she had a great road race that she did to be able to do extremely well. But she had one of the higher watts per kilogram throughout the day. And I think a little bit is because she rode so much of that course by herself.
All right, let's take a look at GC. You were asking about it earlier, Frankie. Here is the setup going into the day today. Godby with 13 seconds over Laura Matson-Coe. Christy Tracy in 3rd after yesterday's road race for Team Infinite at 29 seconds. And then Double-Hickok in 4th at 34. So most of these time gaps came from the time trial, the opening prologue. Double-Hickok picking up a few seconds yesterday for the stage win, but that only moved her up to 4th place. So it's basically Matson-Coe looking to bring back 13 seconds on Jackie Godby today. That is a big ask for Laura Matson-Co, but she's an impressive rider. The Insured, presented by Pedal Power Squad, has her back. They bring a pretty big roster to the ERL, so you never know. We might see them try and split something here. Meanwhile, Stephanie Sidlick up at the front. Sidlick had a rough day yesterday, got split out of the group, but she is back in there today, trying to figure out who Sidlick replaced, because we had 6 yesterday without Sidlick.
It's Vay Win is missing.
V Win,
Yeah.
right. Good call.
Yeah, I just noticed that V Win. She was 6 yesterday. I mean, an unbelievable ride, a fantastic ride. And so it's V Win that is missing from this group. So Sidlick is now, I guess you could call it the replacement. Had a good ride yesterday, but somewhere along the line, either a lack of concentration or, we don't know if it was a power outage. But she ended up coming off the back, riding a lot of the road race by herself. And as I mentioned, 4.29 watts per kilogram over 73 kilometers, the most out of anybody in the entire race. And that was, of course, because she had to do a lot of it by herself. But that's a big effort. So hopefully she was able to recover. Christy Tracy just off the back now, flying up to the front, making sure she's being able to stay with these first group. But Brad, as you had mentioned, this is our Elite 6 or 7. What are we at? 7 or 6 here?
6 in this group, although we'll include V Win as one of the elite riders in this group. The way that she rode yesterday, I think she would be in this group. I'm not sure if she even took the start today. I don't see her in the Zoom room. So
yeah, I'm thinking she didn't take the start. Otherwise, she would be up here. So yeah, like I said, she had a great ride yesterday. Chaffin about 100 meters off the back right now, trying to be able to catch back up. Here we got a great look of Chaffin and McGregor. They rode together most of the race yesterday also, and it seems like they're in the same department today.
yeah, these Velocity Vixen riders do a really nice job of riding together. They have really figured out how to ride as a group on the platform. So those sort of orange and I guess it's like orange and purple or orange and blue that you'll see a lot out there. Chafin and McGregor riding together in 7th and 8th. And then Anna Rogers, another Velocity Vixen rider, back in 13th right now as well. Here's Matson-Co up on the front.
So I got a question for Frankie. If you know Sidlick's numbers were so good and she rode by herself, if she can stay with the group, does that output count her as a good engine here and definitely a contender for the stage?
A good engine for sure, where she'll be able to kind of stay with this group, but not really. I wouldn't say really the big power numbers for a sprint. I don't think she can get up to like 10 watts per kilogram the way Godby, Tracy are able to put out a big powerful sprint. So she's got to, and also after that big effort, you talked about it, Phil, many times, the recovery. She had to do a big effort riding a lot of that race by herself. And so how will the recovery be is right now, Sidlick comes to the front, putting everybody else into the red on this uphill through the start-finish line.
Sidlick throwing a big attack at this one at the base of the hill. And that puts some riders on notice, everybody on notice. I think everybody is into the red numbers here as Stephanie Sidlick taking charge in the group. She said, "You missed me yesterday, but I won't let you forget about me today."
Nice seeing Weissman coming to the front, the German rider, 31 years old, racing for Amy D Foundation. I would say yesterday, give or take, these riders for probably an hour and a half all rode with each other. And now they find themselves in a very same situation. So I wonder how, I don't want to say I wonder how they feel about it, but they learned a lot about each other yesterday in the race. And so now they're finding they're going to get up against the exact same competitors. And so, I'm sure they're going to want a little bit of a change of results, maybe a little bit of revenge. Maybe somebody was sitting on and not doing the work. And so that'll be interesting to see how that plays out through this crit. You make enemies even when you don't want to when you're doing a bike race. Just people get on your nerves. Somebody always seems to get in your way. The same guy seems to be coming in front of you. You know, and it just happens. And so, you know, if you did an hour and a half riding together with somebody yesterday, yeah, somebody might rub you the wrong way. And so you got to kind of figure out how you want to get your revenge. And the best way to do that is by winning the bike race. You see a nice shot in the igloo, as I call it, the igloo of Lauren Matson Coast Place, as she's coasting, taking advantage of that recovery that she's able to do. Good sprinter. This is the one that I pick as the favorite for today.
Frankie, you were talking about riders sort of becoming annoying in the game like this. They actually had to turn off a feature or adjust a feature where the riders were able to brake check each other. You could get in front of a rider, and then if you stop pedaling, it would stop the rider behind you from pedaling as well. But some riders were abusing that physics feature, so they had to adjust that a little bit to make sure that you couldn't pick on any riders out there on course.
Yeah, that would be something to do right before you start your sprint, right? You would coast, you would brake check the guy behind you, and then you would take off. And so, yeah, that doesn't seem like a very fair advantage to have in the virtual world. That's funny.
It's fair game in real life. I mean, you know, we got a name for it and everything. The Saturn sit-up into the last corner, but it's different in virtual racing.
The difference in virtual racing, you can't go over there, excuse me, and confront them. Whereas in real life,
in the parking lot afterwards.
Yeah, you can't go and like pick your bike up over your head and threaten to smash it over somebody's head, you know, which we've seen before, you know.
Yeah, we have to settle for sending mean tweets after the race.
There you go.
Riders are cruising in the Zoom room. Just about everybody out of the saddle right now, trying to respond to Jackie Godby's red zone power numbers here. I say everybody out of the saddle except Jackie Godby. She was the only rider that didn't get out of the saddle on the way up there. The triathlete, once again, showing her triathlete form.
Just a rider that's so powerful. Three-time winner of the Chicago Triathlon, has been riding for a long time, and she's strong, and she's, you know, proven it over and over again in the Echelon Racing League. And so right now, you know, she likes setting a tempo right at about 4 watts per kilogram, which seems to be comfortable for her. And so she wants to be able to protect her overall lead right now, as she is the leader of the Joe Martin stage race.
Yeah, has the advantage of being able to play a little bit of defense today. Godby can sit back and let the other riders try to launch their attacks, try to throw her off her game. But I have a feeling the ever-consistent Godby should be able to handle those just fine.
That'll be interesting with 4th and 5th place in overall, because if Double Hickok is 34 seconds back and Eleanor Weissman is 35 seconds back, that's only a 1 second gap. And on that climb, you could see a 1 second gap open up. Pretty amazing, the first 2 riders in the men's race. I mean, 0.008. I mean, it doesn't really get any closer than that. But if you went back a little bit, there were some time gaps on that uphill. And so depending on, you know, if you gamble and you go off early, you could suffer the consequences of that. So I'm sure we're going to see a little bit more of a cautious race from 4th and 5th with just Double Hickok and Weissman. And then Godby, as you just mentioned, Brad, you know, she's just going to be kind of playing, I think, a little bit more of the conservative role, also just kind of controlling things in her own way, which is just kind of setting that tempo that she loves to do.
I'm excited as a XXX Athletico rider from Chicagoland. She might actually be really up for visiting us in August in Fayetteville for the real Experience Fayetteville Criterium. Chicago's not far to get in the car and drive and bring the team.
Yeah, part of the Midwest Mafia we were talking about earlier. It's another, I guess, cool part of virtual racing. We see these sort of regional groups of riders come together during the in real life season, right? Because they're all going to the races that are within driving distance for the most part, but virtual racing, they all got to come together. So the Midwest riders get to go against the West Coast riders, get to go against the New England riders, get to go against the Mid-South riders as well. Matt Main cheering on his insured presented by Pedal Power teammates. Just finished up the men's race. We saw him up at the front and now cheering on teammates like Laura Matson Co. up here in the front group. Chris Naven says, if there was a bouncy house on course, I'd get off my bike right now mid-race and have fun. Yeah, I don't know what Bruce was talking about. I don't know how you could possibly have a problem with the bouncy house, but people of all walks out there, we got to get a virtual bouncy house along the course here. We're going to have to slip a few extra coffees in the developer's office, see if they can get that developed for next race. And then Frank Cundiff says, this looks so painful. He said, well, eating bacon in the bouncy house. Yes, that's where you can find me at the virtual Joe Martin stage race. Me and Bill Code be bouncing around, eating bacon, watching Laura Matson Co. ride on the front. Then Chris Naven says, race smart and save watts often. Go get it, Jackie.
I think
It's
Jackie's
good to have a
spender. Jackie's not a saver. She's a spender. I don't think she knows how to save watts. She just kind of puts it out there.
Yeah, in fact, I think in triathlon it's illegal to save watts, isn't it? I mean, isn't it like against the rules to draft? So it's like literally illegal for her to draft where she comes from. I noticed that the women's group is pedaling on this downhill where the men were resting. I'm watching the riders on Zoom. Only a few riders are able to coast on the way down. For the most part, it seems like this group is staying on the gas a lot more than we saw in the men's field.
I wonder if it has to do with the size of the group. With riders, a bigger group, you have guys kind of surging around the outside, kind of keeping that momentum. Here with a smaller group, maybe they need to. It's just not as big a group, so they need to pedal on certain portions of the course. Nice view of all the riders right there in our cams. You can see Jackie Godby in the upper left, Lauren Matson Co. are your winner from yesterday in your upper middle. Lauren Matson Co. on your upper right hand side.
Echelon Racing League presented by USA Cycling, championing rider programs, grassroots participation, and athletic performances essential to the success of cycling in America. Supporting our amateur series as well, so as many people as we can have a chance to ride some of these classic American courses and then hopefully get out in real life and race in 2021. We just announced our new Joe Martin stage race in real life dates, so be sure to get your USA Cycling license and get ready to get back to racing, because with each passing day, we're getting more and more optimistic that we might get to see our friends in person at some point this year.
Yeah, I saw a thing with USA Cycling also that if you get your racing license and you for whatever reasons there's different restrictions in different parts of the country, if you end up getting your racing license and you don't use it all for 2020, you can just roll it over and then use it in 2022. And I thought that was a pretty good idea, a pretty cool idea for somebody who wants to be able to support USA Cycling and get their membership. But then, they're not sure if they're going to bike race. They're not sure how they're going to feel. They're not sure what parts of the country are going to be open or closed. And so, if you don't end up using that license, you get to roll it over to the following year where hopefully things are, resumed for you, whoever that individual is, to kind of get back to bike racing or doing events.
That's tough to plan right now, obviously, but nice to have a little bit of flexibility with the license. If you're looking for a race in your area, if you want to get into in real life racing, I know there's a lot of flux as to when that's going to happen, but they do have a calendar of all the local events. You can basically just punch in where you live, and USA Cycling will be able to show you any events in your area and coming up, and then you can get signed up for a basic license as well if you want to have a go at getting into racing in 2021. Get off the trainer and out onto the real roads. Enjoy some fresh air outside. It's a lot of fun. And there's bouncy houses. Maybe the best part of the real life racing, the bouncy houses and bacon. There might even be a beer or two. Mats & Co. getting a little draft on the way down. When the riders stop pedaling in real life, the avatars respond to that. So when you see the avatars pedaling, that means that they're getting some sort of power input. When you see the avatars stop pedaling, that means that they've zeroed out the input there. So you can tell when the riders are coasting in real life, it matches with the virtual avatars pretty well.
Looking back at 2019 for the Criterium for Joe Martin in the women's race, Chloe Dygert had the win there. Another good sprinter, second place, Emma White, and third place, Lily Williams. So that really shows, it was a sprinter's type of race in 2019, despite even having to go up this kind of steep uphill towards the finish. So 3 strong riders, but also 3 very fast riders. And so we have a little bit of the same thing in our virtual world here, with some strong riders and some fast riders. And so, for Jackie Godby, it's going to be, not for Jackie Godby, excuse me, for Doble Hickok, not as powerful in the sprint as some of these other riders. And so she needs to let some kilometers get by, but maybe we might see something from her a little bit later on if she wants to try to surprise everybody. Obviously coming off a huge boost of confidence with her win yesterday. As you had mentioned, Brad, dad power. So hopefully dad power is in force today.
Yeah, that was really cool to see Chris Doble Hickok's dad there. Get a little bit of extra wattage out there when you've got some fans cheering you on. That's always fun and always cool to see as well. Godby sitting on the front. Guys, we've been talking about how great Fayetteville is for riding, both in the city and outside. We talked about road riding. Yesterday we talked with Brooke Watts about the cyclocross happenings in town, with Fayette Cross getting UCI World Cup designation, and then, of course, the 2022 Cyclocross World Championships coming to Fayetteville as well. Of course, we know about the road riding and racing with the Joe Martin stage race, but they've got some pretty incredible mountain biking in Fayetteville as well. Check this out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, several mountain bike trails already in existence in Fayetteville, up at Sequoia and at Mount Kessler, but our newest mountain bike trails at Centennial Park are going to be, are part of the course that the pros are going to ride at the Oz Trails US Pro Cup coming up here in April, here in just it's not too far around the corner. And those are permanent courses that you can go and ride. So as a visitor or as a resident, you can come and hop on your bike and ride the trails that the pros ride as they participate and compete in the Olympic qualifiers.
Sounds like the network of trails in Fayetteville is pretty impressive. I mean, they're figuring out how to connect all of the bike infrastructure between Centennial Park, where Cross Worlds is going to be, the Oz Trails, mountain bike courses that she talked about, and then some of the greenways and bike paths as well. Really doing a nice job of creating an all-encompassing cycling package out there in Fayetteville. Today, though, riding the Criterium, racing around downtown Fayetteville for the Experience Fayetteville Criterium. While we got a little bit of time here for this group up in the front, I want to go back and take a look at that course in our VeloViewer course profile here. Phil, I'm going to ask you to take us through it again because, again, it's the unique little jog on this course. We talked about going down through the city square, that little chicane, I guess, at the bottom of the course, but there are some long drags on this one as well that we've been noticing.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good for spectators as well on different portions of the course where you can check out through the side streets from one side of the loop to the other. Good top view here on the course map. All right, coming through the start-finish line here.
Sorry about that. We're going back to Stephanie Sidlick here because she's starting to separate off the front of the group. I just wanted to catch this because this might be important in the race if anyone goes with her and Sidlick is able to get some help. But this is the first big separation up in our women's field that we've seen here. Just didn't want to miss this important move here on the front for Stephanie Sidlick. Frankie, are you surprised by this move at all? I mean, Stephanie obviously used to riding alone after her effort yesterday, maybe just trying to mimic that effort out there today.
We don't know if she had a technical problem that kind of, put her off the back of the group yesterday, or if it was just her legs. But she's been up there in the other, Echelon Racing League series. She's a strong rider. I mean, she's been second. She was second at the Joe Martin time trial. So she's got good form. And so a little bit surprised so early on that she's going off the front, but she's going to cause a reaction from the rest of the riders to come up to her. She's familiar with this course also because she's actually ridden the real life Joe Martin stage race multiple times. And so nice to be able to see her kind of giving it a go. And you can see she has to put in a little bit of a big effort to make sure she stays in the group to get back in top. So first attack from Sidlick. Nice to be able to see that as Matson Co. looks like she's on the counter attack now.
Once again, though, Sidlick gets the gap and then just decides not to stay on the gas. We saw her in the green zone, so that brought her back into the group. Wondering if she just kind of inched her way off the front. Maybe wasn't really trying to get away. Just kind of found herself off the front. So this group all back together here in the first 6. Pumping along at... Go ahead.
We saw that happen multiple times in the men's race where, you're putting out the 7 watts per kilogram, getting to the top of the hill. And then, if you continue, if you did 10 more seconds of that, you found yourself with a gap coming over through turns number 1 and turns number 2. So, a lot of times that's going to happen, I think, in the women's race also, as we're taking a look here at Chaffin. Chaffin somehow got rid of, Chaffin got rid of McGregor. I don't know where the New Zealand rider went to. McGregor is off the back right now as Chaffin is off on her own from Velocity Vixen. Now we find McGregor sitting back here.
That looks like a pretty good gap from Chaffin to McGregor. This Velocity Vixen duo is starting to split up. Ooh, and then look at this group, 9, 10, 11, and 12 with Beauville, Bonacici, Strello, and Harris. Good-looking group of 4 here. This will be a fun battle to watch. And then this group of 3 behind them, showing 13, 14, and 15 on the road with Rogers, Brown, and here comes Claudia Bering starting to move up. Looks like they are about to catch that group ahead of them. Then a little further back, sitting in 16th, is Larson back here riding alone. And it looks like about 160 meters back to her is going to be Little and Monahan in 17th and 18th. And then I think that's Anna Rogers back in 20th. So good look at the rest of your field a little further back as we go back up to the leaders. Swapping positions up here as they go through the line one more time. Christy Tracy with a little look off the front.
None of our front group are on the same team, so I wonder about any alliances here, at least getting to the finish, right?
Yeah, I saw Christy Tracy sent me, actually, I think her husband Jamie sent it to me, a message from the game chat yesterday where the riders were communicating via the in-game chat. So these 6 riders are communicating. We were talking about whether or not they were on Discord earlier, but it sounds like there's some pretty good communication going on in the in-game chat for these riders. They have been communicating in the front group of 6.
Looks like just in front is the riders we were just showcasing about to get lapped. As Godby just continues riding on the front, keeping that pace, doing what she's comfortable with. You got Doble Hickok sitting in second right behind there. Eleanor Weissman's in there as Sidlick comes up. Christy Tracy, Lauren Matson Co. All of them, that's the thing too, is, just like in real life, when you're traveling the circuit, you're very familiar with the different riders you're going to have to go up against. When you get on that start line, you're looking around, it's the same teams, it's the same guys. Hopefully you want to have a better day than some of them, and they want to have a better day than you. very similar to what's taking place here. You know, after 2 days of racing at the Joe Martin stage race, this third day, these 6 riders all know each other extremely well. And so they're, you know, they're kind of keeping their cards close to their chest right now because they don't really want to show how they're feeling so early on in this race.
We were talking about that chat earlier and how the riders are communicating in the group. Here's the picture I was talking about from Jamie Tracy. You can see Strelo and Sidlick communicating a little bit. And then when Christy Tracy realizes that Sidlick is out of the group, she says, Steph is off, let's push it. And then Stephanie says, yeah, the screen app froze since mile 2. So that's why Sidlick was out of the group yesterday. And Christy says, sorry, Steph, and then group goes on. So you can see they are communicating. Even though they are opponents, competitors out there on course, they are chatting with each other in the in-game chat. So kind of cool. For the inside look at our women's field.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty neat to be able to see, and especially in real time as it's happening. And so that's a perfect example of kind of knowing what happened to Sidlick yesterday. You know, with your screen app, if it freezes, and the thing is, there's 2 apps that run with RGT. One of them is running the platform. The other one is visually so that you can look at and you see what's going on with your avatars. And so if that screen app freezes, you don't know where you are in the race. You're just riding along, putting out a certain amount of power, but you don't know if you're with the group, off the front of the group, off the back of the group. That's exactly where Stephanie Sidlick found herself yesterday in that long road race.
Yeah, as close as you're going to get to a mechanical in virtual racing. It seems like the biggest issue for riders is either a Wi-Fi or a power dropout. Those are the 2, I think, biggest concerns for most riders out there on course. Back with Morgan Chafin, still solo here in 7th. All the credit in the world to Chafin. I was talking about her riding yesterday. It's really easy when you get in that scenario to say, I'll just wait for the next group behind me to ride in a group. But Chafin is doing some serious work to ride solo back there in 7th place on the road, just off the back of this group and in between the chasers further behind her. So good riding out there for Morgan Chafin today.
Yeah, and I'd say, excuse me, the same for many of the riders yesterday. A long day, and so they might not have been with the first 6, but it still meant a tough day for them. For them to be able to get through that road race and finish, that's a testament to their training and their dedication that they've been doing. Obviously in the Crit 2, you know, they're not giving up. They want to be able to finish the Joe Martin stage race, and so they're out there plugging away. Chafin, a good rider. She's raced the Joe Martin stage race in real life before also, so she just keeps plugging away and just going to kind of put in her time. I'm just surprised that she kind of left her teammate, her Velocity Vixen teammate, the New Zealander, just kind of left her behind, not really wanting to be able to wait around for Bronwyn McGregor. Perhaps just 2 different levels of fatigue, 2 different levels of fitness, and so each of them doing their own thing.
At some point, you have to say, I have to head out on my own, and that might have been what happened there with the pair of Velocity Vixen's teammates. Going to loop a good look at Laura Matson-Coe here. And I'm looking at the gameplay up in the top left of the screen. Those are the leaders, and I think they're going to start seeing the chasers here pretty soon. Sounds like that chase group is about to get lapped by the leaders, so might get a little confusing here pretty soon when the leaders overtake the chasers, because they are all going to mix in there, but the positions above the riders' names will still be correct. So we'll be able to see those 6 riders. They should stay at the top of the leaderboard when they combine with the lapped riders in this group. It's another realistic element. Just like real life racing, I was going to ask Bilko. It's just like announcing in real life, right? You don't know who's on the lead lap. You don't know who's lapped. You don't know where they are.
A little bit. I try and use my track racing background a little bit to keep an idea of who's what and try and allude to the crowd, the spectators, who's the front of the race and who's out. Because if you just look away for a second and come back, it's definitely confusing. And then
that's right.
You're not sure.
I forgot about your track background. You can like score a scratch race with one hand and one eye.
Oh yeah, tempo on the front and elimination on the back. And that's right. What we've got here today.
Yeah, RGT actually added some new game modes recently to the races. Anyone can go on to RGT and organize their own race or ride. And one of the modes that they added was like a missing out mode. Last person on each lap gets eliminated from the race. So I always thought that would be fun. I thought that would be cool to try with Criterium Racing. We'll try it on RGT here one day as well. Maybe we'll try it in one of the Amateur League events, although I don't know if missing out is the best way to get amateurs into the sport. Indy Crit February 13th for the next ERL Amateur League. You can go to echelonracingleague.com, click on races, and you'll see the amateur calendar there where you can sign up to race. Free to register, free to race on RGT, and you don't need a license, USA Cycling, UCI, or otherwise. So as long as you have the trainer and the bike and the power meter and everything you need to get on these virtual platforms, you can race in the ERL for free. Not many things in bike racing are free anymore, Frankie.
No, and it adds up even being able to get the equipment in order to be able to do the virtual racing. Those smart trainers can be kind of expensive, and then you got to have a big screen TV. Which one was the men's rider that has like the 4 screens? Looks like he's in like the gaming computer headquarters.
Charlie Revel, yeah.
Yeah. So Charlie Revel, he's like got the servers like he's getting ready to hack into the FBI. So that would be an expensive setup, but it costs a little bit of money to kind of get things going with the smart trainers and the computer and the TV screens. But that's actually an investment that will last you, depending on where you live. And I noticed this actually with a lot of the riders that we look at. They're from cold weather areas. We're talking Nebraska, Iowa, Michigan, New York, Wisconsin. They can't ride outside, so it's a good investment in order to be able to take up, keep your fitness for about 5 months out of the year.
It's those hardy Midwest riders. We got a little thicker skin on us here in the cold weather states of the United States. Yeah, I guess to get started, you're looking at a trainer. I guess smart trainer starts somewhere around $500. Good ones go up to $1,000, $1,200, somewhere around there. You're going to need a power meter on there, and then a lot of platforms will require a heart rate monitor as well, and then it all gets read through into your computer, and then that gets beamed up to the internet and back to a second screen. Yeah, we forgot about the 2 devices that you need as well. I think most people put the screen app up on their TV, and then they'll run the game off of their phone or tablet. They have how-to 101 on the Echelon Racing League website if you're interested in getting into virtual racing. They have a step-by-step guide with all the gear that you need and how to get set up there.
Same on the RGT platform. A lot of, how, as you mentioned, DIY how-to videos to be able to make sure that you have things set up correctly. And honestly, it's easy. It's not complicated by any means. They just want to make sure that they have that information out there in case you run into any problems. But it's pretty straightforward with just downloading some apps and getting it up on your computer and on your phone. Obviously, these 6 riders have had absolutely no problem getting it to work out, as they've done for going way back with what was the first race going back to December 4th through 6th was Tour of Gila. I mean, from last year. So we've had a lot of virtual racing take place this year. Or this season, I guess I should say.
Yeah, I guess we'll call it this season. Well, back in March when we first started thinking about virtual racing, I don't think anyone really knew how long this season was going to go or when this thing would end, when would we get back to real-life racing. It's just kind of been a month-to-month evaluation. And some riders, the virtual season has just continued on a month after month. But I know just about everyone.
I think it's something that could be pretty viable to be able to do regularly. I mean, you could have a virtual off-season series on whatever platform you choose, November to March. And, depending on where you live, I think that would be extremely useful and it would be well utilized. And obviously, if you're living in California, yeah, you might be riding outside a little bit more, enjoying the warm weather, and then maybe not riding inside as much. But can't remember, it's not just in the U.S. It's a lot of riders from Europe, a lot of riders from Australia, New Zealand, and so there's a big attraction, I think, to many riders to have some of this off-season racing going on. It keeps them active, it keeps them fitness, and I thought that was extremely interesting yesterday talking with Krista Doble-Hickok, how she needs that motivating factor. She needs to have a focus. She needs something to shoot for to keep her kind of on track for what she's training for. And so I thought that mental game that Krista Doble-Hickok yesterday was talking about was very interesting in how she approaches these events.
Yeah, a lot of riders, it drove them insane not being able to race or not having that next goal, just not knowing when the next opportunity would be to test themselves. So it's a good way to get some sort of incremental goals in your training program. It might not be the big goal of the season to win a virtual race, but having those smaller targets along the way, a roadmap to your big goal for the year, for the season. So these virtual races make some nice mileposts along the way. And of course, if you're targeting one of those big real-life races, you can always upload that course file to RGT and use it to train, use it to prepare for your big goal for the year.
Who are they catching? I think that's Bearing they might be catching right there. Rider from, whoever it is, rider from Velocity Vixen, able to stay with them on the downhill. This would be great if that rider could be able to stay with these leaders, be able to kind of get pulled around a little bit, be able to make some laps go away a little bit quicker, as Weissman sitting on the front right now, and the rest of the riders, again, coasting. You can see that avatar go into coast mode, which would be like recovery mode on the downhill. Definitely taking advantage of that as Godby continues to come back up to the front.
A little surge around the outside as she gets to the front, and then everyone else back on the gas on the way back down. Cool to see the names painted on the road as well. You saw Angie Bonacici's name there as they just went around the corner. The RGT platform will put names on the road from all the riders entered on the start list. So if you see some of those names painted on the road, that is one of the cool features of RGT. That's in every race that riders enter on the platform, and obviously here in the Echelon Racing League. All right, so as this group of 6 continues to tap out of tempo, I want to go back to talking a little more about Fayetteville and the awesome riding in town. We just talked about some of the mountain bike trails that are being built right now in sort of in conjunction with the big events coming to town, and then of course the work being done at Centennial Park for the Cyclocross World Championships coming up in 2022. But all that bike trails, bike riding areas, they all need to be connected somehow, and that's one place that Fayetteville is really thriving in their bike infrastructure in downtown. Take a listen.
I'm tremendously proud of the investments our city has made in cycling, and that's not just from a tourism perspective, but also from a quality of life perspective for those of us that live here. In particular, and most recently, the investments in Centennial Park. So Centennial Park at Millsap Mountain is a 248-acre cycling venue that is, or 248-acre park that is really built as a venue for cycling events. There is no other place like it in the country, and I say that because it is really built with world-class cycling events in mind. So that is such a gem for those of us in Fayetteville to be able to host things like the World Championship Cyclocross. They're coming to Fayetteville in 2022, but also because of the Fayetteville Traverse, which is a 20-mile loop that connects Centennial Park into our wonderful trails out at Kessler Mountain, the University of Arkansas, and a loop around downtown Fayetteville. Centennial Park connects the town, so you can ride out there, go ride on courses that the pros ride on, and then be on a trail that takes you to all those amenities that are right in the heart of the city. Not to mention connecting you back with the Razorback Regional Greenway, which is a 40-mile greenway that takes you from Fayetteville all the way north to neighboring Bella Vista. So all of the cities that are in Northwest Arkansas are connected and accessible through the Razorback Greenway.
A lot of cities have been building more and more bike infrastructure over the last few years, but very few cities have connected it as well as Fayetteville has been able to. Frankie, I know you know the frustration. You go out for a ride, you find an awesome bike lane, and then it just drops you off nowhere. And you're like, what do I do now? I took a bike lane to nowhere. But Fayetteville is really doing a nice job of making sure that you can get where you want to go in town safely on bike infrastructure.
Yeah, it's a very valid point, and safely is the key part. I mean, there's a big hesitation for a lot of cyclists or beginner cyclists, and even experienced, is going out on the open road, riding with cars. A lot of people aren't comfortable with that. And so having these connected trails like the Greenway, 40 miles of the Greenway, that's enough for pretty much anybody to be able to go out and to be able to do a ride and be safe and be on the paths, and you can connect it to other routes. And so it really can, it sets up to be promote an active lifestyle for many people, that obviously runners and walkers will be able to use the trail. But, if you were to go cycling and you have all of that available to you, you could really enjoy the sport, and you don't have to be scared of going out on the open road with the cars, and bringing out young kids, bringing out the youngsters, because that's the key in continuing to develop the sport, is getting youngsters involved, getting them off their video screens, getting them off their phones, and bringing them out onto the trails. This would be a great, safe avenue to be able to do that.
Yeah, a big part of getting people on bikes is making sure that they feel safe riding them. And, like you said, that 40-mile Greenway, awesome. What a great resource for the people of Fayetteville. Big part of why so many teams are starting to make their way down to Fayetteville as well for training camps and things like that. I know Project Echelon is going to be heading down there, holding their team training camp in Fayetteville, Arkansas this year. They're going to bring all the guys down there and get together for the first time, as they found a place that really works out well for team training. Plenty of good riding, and they're going to do a couple different types of riding as well. Project Echelon, I think, used to be considered a road team, but they're going to be doing some mountain biking, gravel riding down there in Fayetteville as well. So no surprise to see more and more teams heading to Fayetteville for their training camps. Action Huggins Berman did their camp in Fayetteville last year as well.
Yeah, it's a big city. It's college town, University of Arkansas. So you have the fun element there. You have a big airport, NWA, which is really close to right there. And there's great roads. And obviously, you have training camp in the spring. In the wintertime, it's a little bit cold. But once you get to spring, it starts warming up a little bit sooner than other parts of the country. And so it turns into pretty good weather. And just the road selection is tremendous there to be able to go out on training rides. And I'm talking about like going out on the roads, even, with the cars, where you can go exploring, not only doing the Greenway, but also being able to go out and do the local mountains. And so a lot of different avenues to explore with the training camp there, and it's a great cycling area, and a lot of people starting to take advantage of it, just like you had mentioned, Brad. And then they can go to Hippos. What's the name of the place, Phil, with the burgers?
Hugo.
We can go to then they can go to Hugo's. There you go, to be able to
don't go to
Hippos for
Hippos
each and every day. Yeah, don't
you don't want to get a
Hippos.
burger from Hippos. That's a whole different thing. And we learned that you don't have to knock 3 times because you're a celebrity in Fayetteville, Frankie. I think everyone else still has to do the 3-knock entry, but people know you.
I had to knock 4 times. It'll be good. Look at this, a lot of green and blue, right? Green is tempo, blue is endurance. Granted, they're not in the purple, which is recovery, but a lot of green and blue showing up right now. 18 kilometers to go. Same 6 riders on the front, and they're just kind of eyeballing each other right now.
Yeah, it's that standoff situation, right? They're all just kind of looking around, saying who's going to be the next to go, who wants to try to light a match here, try to get us. Get the speed up here in the group, and right now it doesn't look like anyone wants to take charge. They all seem pretty happy to sit in the tempo power zone here. Velocity Vixens cheering on their teammates here in the Echelon Racing League in our Facebook chat. There's one of the Vixens rolling by right now. I think that might have been Chafin that they're starting to pick up. and see who they flew by. Ryan Kelly, bouncy houses? Yes, indeed. I think this is quickly becoming part of the Joe Martin stage race identity. I don't know if that was part of the plan, but when you hear Joe Martin, you got to think of bouncy houses.
And bacon.
And bacon. Bouncy houses and bacon hand-ups.
So I've got a question for you guys. Is a reputation for being a certain type of rider, that expectation used by everybody else? Like, Godby here, she's just got a good tempo. Am I going to follow her knowing that she's going to tow me around? And can she also use that and say, I'm going to ride enough here to discourage other people from taking an attack because I look good enough? How does that play out?
Yeah, she's definitely one of the riders that can set a high enough tempo to try to prevent any attacks on the front. But the thing that I like about Jackie Godby, even though she has that power, she also likes a good race. I mean, she likes some action. She likes to have fun on the bike. So even if Godby could set that power, there's a good chance that she would just sit back and say, I'd rather have fun sprinting against this group. I'd rather see how this plays out. She's not afraid to mix things up and try new things in her sort of methodology out to racing. So yeah, it really depends on how Jackie Godby's feeling out there today, I guess, for our lead rider. I want to bring Bruce Dunn back in because it sounds like the phones are ringing off the hook in Fayetteville from all the bouncy house vendors looking for work, because it sounds like we're going to be severely depleting the supply of bouncy houses in 2021. Are you ready? Do we have our reservations in, Bruce? I mean, can we confirm that the bouncy house will be there?
Hashtag bouncy house for sure, right? I mean, I just got to make sure the insurance underwriters are ready to go.
I'm sure we can get that taken care of. It's easy. How hard can insurance be to work out? Hey, Bruce, as we're getting down to the end of this one, 16 and a half kilometers to go for our pro women, getting ready to wrap up a weekend of racing here at the Joe Martin stage race. It's been a fun stand-in for the real life racing. It's been cool getting to kind of get together. We got to get to see guys like Bilko here on the broadcast, kind of bringing all of our Joe Martin family together. Have you felt that in Fayetteville?
Oh, absolutely. It's been a lot of fun for me. I mean, quite frankly, my Joe Martin stage race race director hat is atrophied a little bit. So you guys have made it real for us, and it's awesome to get Bilko involved on this level. And, just to talk about Fayetteville, bring more notoriety for our teams, riders, certainly our city. Oh my goodness. And my phone has been blowing up the last 10 minutes since this race announcement. So I needed this. We needed this. Our race committee needed it. We're excited.
Little shot in the arm, little caffeine for the promotion for 2021 Joe Martin stage race. All right, Bruce, stick around because we're going to keep you around for our virtual podium at the end of this one. But we are 16K to go to the finish of our pro women's race. Going to be another exciting one here in the crit. Well, guys, I'm thinking a field sprint today. The way that we saw the pro men's race go down and the way that Godby and Tracy have been riding today, I think we see this one stay together. If they wanted to split the group, if they wanted to make this hard and try and drop riders out of the group, I think we would have already started to see that. We would have seen Godby taking more poles up on the front, setting the tempo higher. But I think Godby is more than happy to sprint this one out. She wants to sort of test her sprint legs against the other riders in this field.
And that's something I was going to mention earlier, is that Godby's strong enough to be able to ride tempo and do the sprint. She's super powerful, and on this uphill like this, that's going to play into her hands. She'll be able to put out the 9-10 watts per kilogram in a sprint, be able to challenge any of these other riders in here. So, and we've seen in the men's race, a solo rider really has struggles to be able to get away, really struggles to be able to get a gap. And so I'm not sure one rider going up the road is going to work. And so I don't know if there's 2 or 3 that will be willing to be able to kind of put the hammer down to try to split up this group. So I agree with you, Brad. I think we're going to see a field sprint, and should be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. Now, Godby taking a flyer on the last lap up the hill, I wouldn't be surprised if she did that. because Lauren Matson-Coe is a quick finisher. And so I don't know, like I'd be a little bit nervous. I would have the sweaty palms coming into the finish if Lauren Matson-Coe was in my group.
You see, even when she rests, God be focused. Grabbing some water, but never taking her eyes off the screen. Making sure she doesn't lose contact with that group. Part of why Jackie Godby has been so consistent this season, the ability to just stay in that zone, stay focused for the duration of these races. Some which have pushed past 2 hours, it can be difficult to keep that much focus on the screen for that long, but Godby obviously has that mental ability to stay focused as well. Maybe part of her journey to a PhD, part of her studying, her ability to bury her nose into the computer.
I think these last, when we get down to the final few laps, everybody trying to feel where they could start that effort to finish up the hill. That'll be the interesting part. And testing beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be as much about timing as it is about how many watts you can generate. For the most part, these riders are pretty close in terms of the raw power that they can generate. But winning on RGT, winning in the Echelon Racing League, is about how and where you can use that power. Because even if you can ratchet up to like 1,000 watts, it's not going to do you much good if you go early or you don't understand the physics, you're wasting those in a corner or something like that. So going a little further back in the group, we've been watching Morgan Chafin all day today, riding solo in 7th place, and she is still there, cranking out the tempo, even pushing herself into the red zone as the road kicks uphill to a 10% grade there. And then this group of 4 sitting behind her in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th place. Bonacici, McGregor, Harris, and Beauville doing a nice job riding together in this group of 4.
Nice to see McGregor getting wrapped up into that group also.
Yeah, she was caught out earlier, but has since been absorbed there. And then Rogers, Brown, and Bering back here in 13, 14, and 15.
Bering riding in the back there is from Colorado. She was the Zwift U.S. champion in 2018.
Before Zwifting was cool.
An early adapter.
Yeah. That's like when you tried to sell me on the Microsoft Zune. You were telling me that MP3 players were going to be the next thing. I didn't believe you. I should have bought that Apple stock when you said. And Monahan doing a nice job back here as well, tapping out the tempo. And back up to the leaders, swapping positions up here.
So for as many riders as we have in the race, it seems like maybe there's like 4 groups. Chaffin is by herself. Otherwise, we have a group right behind her that's kind of chasing her down, and then maybe 1 or 2 other individuals. So not too bad that a lot of them have been able to find somebody to be able to ride with. And so that obviously makes the race go by a little bit quicker, a little bit easier, and makes it a little bit more fun. For fun for these front runners, I don't know if that's really the case right now, because every time they hit that hill, they're going to 7 watts per kilogram, 8 watts per kilogram. They're all kind of testing each other, challenging each other each and every time. And now it's going to start getting a little bit more serious as we're getting down into our lap counter.
It's just like in the real life racing when we work on the time-based criteriums. A lot of times we do a time-based crit where they figure out the average lap time for the riders and then use that to try to calculate how many laps will keep them inside the window that they have allotted, sort of like cyclocross, I guess, as well. But once you get that set number of laps remaining, it's off time and on to laps. That drastically changes the racing once you have a set number of laps remaining. So same thing here. I think for the first sort of 15 laps, they're just kind of looking at it as tapping out distance, just knocking out the distance early on. And then once you start counting the laps, it really starts to get interesting. So they're seeing 6 to go as they roll through the line here.
No more free lap at this point, I would suppose.
There's never a free lap in virtual racing, but yeah, usually 6 in real life is where we see it. I don't know if that's in the works or not. I don't know if they're going to do virtual free laps. That would be kind of cool, I guess, if you have your Wi-Fi dropout or whatever, but part of me also kind of thinks that's on you, you know? Like, how much of it is just ill preparation? You don't want to give a free lap to the guy who showed up with like a dollar bill holding his tire sidewall in and then he gets a flat in the race. I don't know if that guy deserves a free lap, but luckily that's for smarter people than me to figure out.
Jose would have to join the Geek Squad, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Jose Alcala would be equipped to handle the mechanicals of these riders. Jose, my router's not working. My Wi-Fi is slow.
Yeah, he would say, "Did you try turning it off?" I like Phil's idea for the preems with the in-game gaming. Whereas if we did have preems and somebody was able to cross the line, you'd have coins come out of the air and like go into their pockets.
Like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Exactly like that. I think that would be neat. But you know, I mean, I don't know. It's like, you know, RGT is about real life.
That's best left to virtual racing. We don't want to do that in real life. We're not throwing any coins at anybody in the real life.
Right, but what I was going to say with RGT, it's all about mimicking kind of real life. You know, it's different than Zwift with the cartoon kind of landscape or the avatars. You know, this is more real life, and so you know they're not going for gaming style. They're going for mimicking really and doing a fantastic job, especially with Magic Roads. I mean, to be able to import a road file from any race course so that, as you mentioned, Brad, you can train on it. If you have national championships coming up somewhere, you can import that file. You can train on it over and over to know exactly what to expect. This is a huge advantage over a lot of other gaming platforms in order to prepare for an event. And so RGT has got kind of that part figured out, and it's great to be able to see how well they're doing with it.
Yeah, that's without a doubt the coolest part of RGT, the ability to upload those courses and get that built into the game as well. They're working on some new graphics packs as well. We're in sort of the forest field setting right now, but they've got like a desert setting rolling out, a city setting rolling out, so it'll sort of match the real life look of the game as well. It just keeps generating those through. So some pretty cool technology and changing all the time as well. All right, Jackie Gabi leading the charge up to the top of this climb again, as this will take them down to 5 laps to go as they hit the line here. And that's going to be just under 10 kilometers of racing to go. So if we're going to see that late race attack come, I think it probably comes at like 5, maybe 6 kilometers. That'll be like 2-3 laps to go, something like that. Probably a little early to try to hit out solo here right now, Frankie.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, and we've seen, you know, the men's race just because of the speed, but also the difficulty because of the downhills. They can gain so much momentum in bringing somebody back. A little bit early to be able to strike out, but right now I couldn't tell you who's feeling good, who's not feeling good. They all seem very even with their power output on the uphills, and they're all just kind of following each other. So I'm not even sure if anybody's been able to sit in and do less work than the other ones because it's such a small group that they find themselves on the front many times without even trying. But right now, this is an even matched game heading in towards the finish line. So this race is shaping up to come down to the last 2 laps, and then it's going to come down to who has the courage, who has the guts, who wants to sacrifice themselves to be able to take a flyer and risk it. Who's willing to roll the dice? That's going to be the question over those last 2 laps.
That and that timing aspect that Brad was talking about. Where you light your match, right?
Yeah, fighting
Exactly.
for position to come out of that last turn, and then where do you decide to start your sprint? I mean, we saw Oliver Dowd in the men's race. He came up a little bit later. Uberti went out from a long ways out, ended up getting swarmed, just kind of wearing out because that hill caught up with everybody. And then Oliver Dowd timed it perfectly, almost too perfectly. You want to talk about rolling the dice. I mean, 0.008. I mean, it doesn't get any closer than that. So it'll be interesting with the repeated laps that the women have been able to do. They've probably had time to figure out, they're looking for a land marker. They're looking for something on the side of the road that's going to indicate to them, all right, like this sign, this is where I need to start my sprint. But they're looking for something like that on the final climb.
And yesterday's road race finish was definitely close.
Yeah, with Lauren Matson-Coe coming pretty much out of nowhere. Double Hickok looked like she had it, and it's a good thing you couldn't virtually post up and coast across the line because Matson-Coe came from almost 8 seconds back and just kind of bridged across a gap and finished right there, right next to Crystal Double Hickok. So it really goes to show you, like in the virtual world, how quickly you can close down a gap if you have the right power in order to be able to do it compared to somebody who's off the front and maybe starting to tire a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Matson-Coe was so close to catching it on the line yesterday. You got to wonder if she adjusts the final sprint today, thinking if I just wait a little bit or go a little bit earlier, maybe I can get that math right in the sprint. So the constant adjustment that you have to deal with in trying to figure out how to beat some of these riders in the field. So this is going to take the group down to 4 laps to go. As you see the arch up ahead for Stephanie Sidlick, leading the charge through, taking us under 8K.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to yesterday with the road race, that uphill where we're here on the Criterium course, the Experience Fayetteville course has an uphill finish as well. So that sort of rhythm is similar.
Hey, you guys don't like to do things easy at the Joe Martin stage race, that's for sure. Tough courses.
Joe Martin was about hard racing. You win, you've really earned it and earned that respect of being tough as well as smart on knowing where to put your energy.
Yeah, and learning about Joe and the history behind the race, I definitely learned that when Joe Martin did things, he did them big and did them right. And Joe Martin stage race, certainly a great example of that. Matson-Coe coming back into the group, got gapped off a little bit there, but I think just part of the physics of the downhill. Go ahead, Frank. You sounded like you were about to say something.
I was just going to ask Phil, Brad, you were just speaking about the Joe Martin stage race and how tough it is. Obviously Joe Martin stage race, with the virtual world, we're doing 3 days of racing. In the real life, there's 4 days of racing. So there's the time trial, the Criterium, but of the 2 road races, which one is the tougher?
It probably depends on which year you want to talk about, because some of those, the second road race can be different from year to year depending on construction and the development that has gone on and really boomed around Fayetteville. So I would say it's the second stage is probably harder because there's that much more fatigue built in, and you've learned that much about who's here at the race and how they're feeling and how the team is riding. So I would say the second road race would be the harder part.
Is the second day the Sequoia day?
Yeah, it has been.
Well, that makes sense. A mountaintop finish would definitely put the cranks to the legs.
Little gap here for Sidlick going again. This might be a real-life attack from Sidlick. It's hard to tell which is an attack and which is just the rider sort of conquering the uphill ride here, conquering that climb. That's Sidlick there in the sort of pink and blue jersey of the Canyon Esports team. Mid-left on the right-hand side of your screen. I guess it's just the incline because it seems like everyone is responding in the red zone. I guess you have to go red just to get up to the top of that climb.
You do. You have to go red just to get to the top with the group. And so I think one indication, if you see 5 watts per kilogram, 5 to 6 watts per kilogram, they're just trying to stay with each other, trying to be able to get to the top of the climb, making sure they don't get dropped. 3 laps to go. If we see, 7 or 8 watts per kilogram, that's going to be red, and I think that's going to be a good indication of that. It's actually an attack and trying to be able to get away from everybody else. So, that might, like I said, the last couple laps, we could see somebody kind of roll the dice and be able to take a little bit of a flyer. But right now, they're marking each other. They're definitely watching each other. You see Lauren Matson-Coe, I think, just off the back right now. Look at her out of the saddle, having to respond to be able to make sure she gets back up there.
Yeah, and I gotta think that's the worst thing that you can do if you're trying to preserve energy. I mean, yo-yoing off the back, obviously in real life, is your worst case scenario, but it seems like Matson-Coe has been maybe over-resting a little bit. Every once in a while, she gets caught off the back, and then it's not a problem for her to chase back on, but she does have to just dip into the reserves a little bit to close that gap. So not sure if I'm reading that right. Obviously, we're not watching the group the entire time. Matson-Coe knows exactly what she's doing here, but it seems like we've seen her chase back into the group a few times over the last few laps.
Maybe it's a little more of the slingshot effect. You have to ramp it up a little bit, and it gives you a little more momentum. I'm not sure,
Yep.
but
Yeah, there's definitely an element of that as well, where riders respond and then they get into the group and they're still doing that wattage, and then that shoots them to the front where they don't want to be. So then you see them let off too much and they go off the back. So it's kind of a swinging pendulum effect where it gets worse and worse on either side if you don't learn how to modulate the power on the platform.
Well, nice shot of Matson-Coe at the bottom of the screen, kind of starting to be able to move up there. Do you know she also does cyclocross? She actually was the 2019 Masters cyclocross champion. So a rider that kind of, and we see this a lot with many of the riders, even in the men's race that came over. There's a lot of, we had pro mountain bikers, pro cyclocross riders, obviously good road riders and Criterium riders all coming over to the virtual world. Matson-Coe is one of those. It does, national cyclocross champion coming over into the virtual world.
And riders from all walks of life, all different cycling disciplines joining us here in the Echelon Racing League. In fact, just looking at our Zoom room right here, you've got a 24-hour endurance champion in Christy Tracy, a Chicago Triathlon winner in Jackie Godby, a pro continental road rider in Krista Doble-Hickok up in the top left, experienced road rider in Steph Sidlick, and then the cyclocross background of Laura Matson-Coe at the bottom.
And you got to admit, coming off a cyclocross season, and at least if it were a real time of the year, coming off that in nationals, we just had worlds. So this would be the time to have some fitness, and why not bring it to IRL, ERL?
Yeah, it would cross over extremely well. 1 hour cyclocross events, 45-minute cyclocross events to a lot of the criteriums, 1 hour effort. Right now, we're going over a little bit over an hour 13, but cyclocross is just redline yourself and then time trial the rest of the way. And so similar to kind of the virtual racing where the starts are definitely redlining yourself and then just kind of staying with the group. So there definitely is a correlation, I think, between the two. And so you could have a lot more riders starting to be able to look into coming over from cyclocross into this virtual world. Christy Tracy on the front right now. So we're down to 2 laps to go. Riders are all sticking together pretty well. They're all kind of marking each other. Will anybody attack the second to last time up the climb? Be interesting to see how much effort they're willing to put in with that, or are they all willing to just wait for the sprint?
Yeah, you got to think that it comes on that last climb, on that uphill. I mean, if there's going to be attack, you have to think it happens there.
I would agree with you, Brad. And then I was going to say, just a reminder, Jackie Godby is your overall leader. So she doesn't really have to be the aggressive one. It's somebody who wants to be able to take that lead from her. Sitting in second is Lauren Matson-Coe. So Lauren Matson-Coe's 13 seconds down. Christy Tracy, 29 seconds down. Double Hickok, 34 seconds with Weissman, 35. So there's only 1 second difference between fourth and fifth. Now, granted, coming into one lap to go, nobody's going to pick up 13 seconds on Jackie Godby. So right now, they're just focused on trying to see who's going to win the Criterium for the Joe Martin stage race.
Yeah, looks like the GC battle has come and gone here at Virtual Joe Martin stage race. So this one's going to be all about the stage win here for the experienced Fayetteville Criterium. And it's all going to come down to that hill. Whether or not it happens on the last lap or on the way up to the line for the finish, this race will be won and lost on that last little climb up to the line. We're talking about our favorite IRL and virtual crossovers. I'm happy to report that Bruce Dunn is standing by, ready to ring the bell for our final lap of racing. We're going to have an authentic last lap bell here from our race promoter on the line at 1 to go. And they're going to get that here in just about a minute as they roll back through for the final time. Look at the form. Everyone out of the saddle except Jackie Godby up in the top right. She was the only rider that didn't get out of the saddle on this climb on the way up. Everybody else stood up and tried to get a little more power out of it. So she powers to the top of the climb as we send these guys through for 1 lap to go. This will be our last lap of racing. And there's our official bell from Bruce Dunn.
That's what's pretty impressive about Jackie Godby is that, some of the other riders, in order to get into the red, in order to get up to 6-7 watts per kilogram, they have to get out of the saddle to produce that power. You just mentioned, Brad, Godby's able to stay in the saddle and produce that kind of power. So an exceptional rider right there, the way she's able to produce that power without having to get out of the saddle to be able to keep it going. So Godby right now coasting, taking a little bit of a breather. You can see Christy Tracy taking a little bit of a breather. Matson-Coe taking a breather. Well, everybody right now trying to get the last gasp of air before they get to the finish. Sidlick trying to be taking in some quick gels in order to be able to give herself a little bit more energy to make it towards the finish because we're over an hour of racing, coming up on an hour 15.
Double Hickok closing the gap off the back. Let just a little bit of space open up. She had to redouble her efforts to get back into the group as yesterday's winner looks for a repeat. Matson-Coe sitting comfortably at the back there in the light green and white jersey of the insured Pedal Power team. Jackie Godby is in the red jersey with black shorts of XXX Racing Athletico. We see Eleanor Wiseman moving up to the front now for the Amy D Foundation over on the left-hand side of your screen. The Belgian rider in the dark blue jersey of the Amy D Foundation kit. Christy Tracy off to the left side wearing the light blue of Team Infinite. And then Steph Sidlick in the purple and blue and orange of Canyon Esports.
Pretty interesting. 2 riders on time trial bikes with Christy Tracy and Jackie Godby. The other 3 on road bikes. And I was wondering if Matson-Coe was going to go to the drops for her sprint. Normally we've seen all these riders, they're riding on the hoods. Double Hickok's on the hoods. Sidlick's on the hoods, but it's Matson-Coe who's on the drops trying to fight for position to make sure she's up there. So she is locked in and ready as Jackie Godby continues to just set the tempo, trying to see if everybody else can follow her.
Good catch, good eye. And look at her riding right next to Godby up here on the front. That's Matson-Coe on the left side, Godby on the right side. Here comes Sidlick up the outside right side of the group. But I think they're still playing that waiting game. Still just trying to match the tempo of Jackie Godby here. Use as little wattage as possible if you don't have to. And now the road's starting to kick up. Look at everyone getting out of the saddle. Even Godby going at it here. Tracy is going to surge to the front as they get off the bottom of this climb.
Well, Tracy went first. She decided to strike out, but immediately a reaction from Lauren Matson-Coe and Double Hickok. Look at Krista Double Hickok, the winner from yesterday in the road race. She won in an uphill. Now she's trying to do it again, but it's Lauren Matson-Coe right now on the front. Godby trying to react. Look at Godby thrashing that bike.
But you almost never see Godby moving side to side like that, and this time it pays off as Jackie Godby beats Laura Matson-Coe to the top of the climb today. Matson-Coe going to have to settle for second as Godby adds another win to her resume here at the Echelon Racing League.
Look at him. Now you're talking about some tired riders, all of them breathing hard. But, man, Lauren Matson-Coe with a great sprint. But Godby out of the saddle, thrashing that bike. I mean, she was ripping it side to side. I thought she was going to tear it right off the trainer. Big effort, but it paid off with another win, which I think this brings her up to 12 wins right now in the racing league.
And going a little further back to Rogers and Chafin on their way in for the Velocity Vixen team.
And this is one part of Fayetteville that really impresses me. The crowd sticks around and all the riders get cheered in as if they're winning the race themselves. It's really incredible.
Yeah, the good thing about the crit course is that, you know, a lot of times there's spectators. You know, a lot of times, like, just the start-finish area has the most, you know, spectators because it's kind of crowded around there. I can remember the Criterium, there's spectators all around. I mean, obviously on the hill, it's kind of the more exciting part to be able to watch. But if you went down to like the final turn and around, there's spectators all around there. There's spectators around turns number 1 and 2. It's a very well-attended, spectator-friendly course that a lot of people come out for. And Phil, as you just said, usually when we do the podium, because it's the final podium, a lot of people stick around and they're cheering on for the riders even after the race is over. It's amazing how the city definitely gets behind having the Joe Martin stage race. It's part of their identity, and they embrace it and they accept it. And I talked about yesterday, I've had some fantastic host housing with the Joe Martin stage race where, you know, for 2 or 3 years in a row, we went back to the same host houses, and they took care of us. It was fantastic and definitely very, very enjoyable.
Their Southern hospitality shows through.
So for many of these riders we're seeing right now, like Anna Strelo and Schafrin and them, they're going to have, you know, 2 or 3 laps still to go. Like, for example, here, 2.2 kilometers to go. So she still has to come through and see 1 lap to go. She's on the uphill right now, heading in towards that 1 lap to go. But Strelo finishing up the Joe Martin stage race. It's a good job by her, racing for Project Echelon out of Wisconsin. Same with these riders. They're on the back part of, the other riders are on the back part of the course. Strelo is just in front of them, Anna Strelo, coming up with 1 lap to go. Here we got some riders here. They're on their last lap, I think, with Schafrin and Rogers as they're getting ready to finish things up.
I think Schafrin might be lapping Rogers here. I think Schafrin might be finishing up, and then Rogers in 13th is still going to have another one to go here. I'm pretty sure Schafrin went all the way around, caught the back of Rogers here. So Schafrin will be finishing solo in 7th, and then Rogers is going to have another one to go out, and then Strelo will be back behind her.
Well, for many of the riders, if they thought Criterium going to be short, easy day, well, I don't think that played out the way they had hoped to, because the Gila Crit is one of the toughest in the U.S., so that's a hard Criterium. Plus, we're looking at the time. We're coming up on an hour 23 minutes, hour 25 minutes. That's a long day on the trainer, especially having to go over that little hill 25 times. So, you know, so a lot of time crits, a lot of people can, they take for granted. They think it's not going to be that bad. But the Joe Martin Criterium, that's a whole different ballgame.
As we keep an eye on these riders rolling through to the finish, let's go into our Zoom room and grab a word with our race winner. Jackie, another one added to the resume out there today. This one closer than I thought. I was amazed how close you guys stayed together for most of the day today. Seemed like maybe you were confident, more confident in your sprint today.
Yeah, you know, I think it was really the same core group of women that worked together yesterday for those 45 miles, that brutal hill climbing course. So I really think there was, in addition to the regular competition today, there was almost a sense of camaraderie, a sense of working together as a team to get up that hill 25 times. We all felt the hill yesterday. We all knew we were exhausted. So it was really, I think, not only did we race together, we worked together. And so that was a lot of fun, just catching wheels and surviving the course.
We also talked about sort of that elite group of 6 up at the front. We lost one from yesterday, but we're starting to see the same group of riders up at the front. Are you starting to learn the strengths and weaknesses of the other riders up there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm becoming friends with them as well. If you see me texting after every race, that's always me texting Laura Massenko, fantastic job. Today I was telling her, I love sprint finishes with her. I always feel like I learned something new in terms of when to punch it, how to conserve energy. Christy Tracy are actually on Team Ceres the Pros Closet together on Zwift. Krista Doble Hickok. Oh my God, yesterday on those mountains, it was a master class in just how she can put down those watts on that steep gradient. I think every race, I just get more and more respect with these women. It's awesome.
How much did the new physics update on RGT affect the racing this weekend? I mean, did you notice a difference? Was it significantly different this weekend?
Not so much, because as a 70-kilo rider, I'm never getting spit out of the pack on the downhills. But I definitely think, particularly on today's crit, it made it easier for that group of 6 women to just stick together, coming down that downhill as a pack, taking those turns together. And we didn't really see a lot of splintering, even though, we were worn down going up and down that hill so much.
And Jackie, finally, we have to present to you your winner's jersey.
Thank you.
Because we're looking forward to having you in person in 2021. So we're looking at your winner's jersey on screen right now, and we certainly hope that we'll see you in person in 2021.
So do I. That would be an amazing goal, and I am keeping my fingers crossed.
All right. Well, we just made our date announcements earlier. There we go. Sorry, I was trying to get on it. Very cool pink jersey for our GC winners of the Joe Martin stage race. And if you do make it in person in 2021, you get to wear the jersey in person on the line as well. So you're going to have a special jersey for our virtual race winner. So Jackie, congratulations, and we hope to see you in Fayetteville this August.
I do too. Thank you so much, and have a great afternoon.
Well, what a great day of racing here at the Experience Fayetteville Downtown Criterium. It was fun watching these riders duke it out on the crit course, but just makes me that much more excited, Frankie, to get back to some real-life racing this August at the Joe Martin stage race. And I know the riders are looking forward to it as well. For a lot of riders, that this window where we move back into racing is really exciting, and it sounds like Joe Martin is going to be on a lot of riders' calendar this year.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, with the announcement of the dates from August 26th to 29th, it's going to be, it gives everybody kind of a goal, something to shoot for. And so, there's a lot of people itching to be able to kind of get back to doing live events, and it's going to be fun. And it's definitely going to be interesting because how fit and the power that these riders are putting out. I think the racing is going to be even better.
Well, there's a look at your results from the day today as Godby takes the win over Laura Matson Co. at 0.17 seconds back. Krista Doble Hickok ends up third place on the day, with Christy Tracy in fourth and Eleanor Wiseman taking fifth place for the Amy D Foundation. Stephanie Sidlick in sixth for the Canyon Esports team, and then Morgan Chafin, Anna Strelo, Bronwyn McGregor getting the best out of that group that we were watching battling back a little further back in ninth, and then Esther Boville going to round out the top 10 for Team Infinite. Jackie Godby will also take the overall GC at the Echelon Racing League. As we wrap up 3 days of racing here after the virtual Joe Martin stage race, guys, final thoughts from you. Phil, I'm going to start with you. Was it as fun as you thought? I know you were super pumped to get into virtual racing, but what was your experience like this weekend at calling your first virtual race here at the Joe Martin stage race?
I'm just happy to be back with some real racing. That the Tour de France this summer was a real shot in the arm for my morale, and being here and connecting with you guys and Bruce. And it's the same sort of feelings. The riders in their studios, getting to see them in their pain faces, are just like in real life, with the wind, the rain, the hills. So it to me, it's just super motivating, and I'm so glad that I was able to be a part of this. Thank you.
Well, Bilko getting ready to announce, the riders getting ready to race, and Frankie and I are getting ready to come bounce in the bouncy house and do some bacon hand-ups for the real-life Joe Martin stage race. We are headed to the Indy Crit next in the Echelon Racing League, February 20th, and then, of course, the amateur race on February 13th as well. Then it's a one-day race for the Dirty Reaver, one of our RGT courses, on February 21st. And then we're wrapping up the Tour of America's Dairyland to end the Echelon Racing League 2020-2021 season, March 11th through 14th. So certainly hope to see everyone there, whether you're racing or spectating. That's going to do it for us here from the virtual Joe Martin stage race. For Phil Stevens and Frankie Andreu, my name is Brad Soner, saying thanks for watching. Certainly hope to see you join us for the next stop on the Echelon Racing League with the Indy Crit. We'll see you there. Nice job, dudes.
You too. You too. Professional all the way around, and I appreciate it.
Man, these are, as an announcer, I mean, it's like watching a Cat 4 race where no one's doing anything. Sometimes you're just like, someone attack, do something. I wish we had preems. That would make